Chapter 305. Suddenly, Xiao Chan focused his gaze on a mission contract. This black rank mission was different from the others. There were 5 black stars behind the black title. The 5 stars represented the difficulty of the mission. It was the highest among the black rank missions. The most difficult mission that Xiao Chan had done in the past 2 months was only 3 stars. It required Xiao Chan to use 70% of his strength before he managed to complete it. However, the reward of a 5-star mission was very generous. It was a total of 3,000 contribution points. However, what made Xiao Chan unable to shift his gaze away was the name of the person entrusted to the mission. Dongming Province's Duanmu clan's Duanyuking. There was no detailed description of the mission. It only roughly stated that it was an escort mission. The requirement was that the cultivator must not be higher than Martial King. When Xiao Chan first saw this mission, he did not hesitate and chose it. Be it the high reward or the person entrusted to the mission, Xiao Chan was very interested in it. With the Duanmu clan's strength, they actually wanted to entrust the Heavenly Saber Pavilion. This escort mission was definitely not simple. Furthermore, the requirement of this mission was very interesting. The cultivator must not be higher than Martial King. Xiao Chan quickly figured out the crux of the matter. The destination of the escort mission would definitely have a barrier. Those above Martial King would not be able to enter. Interesting, there will definitely be a pleasant surprise in this mission. Xiao Chan put away the contract and smiled faintly. I will rest for the night first. We will depart tomorrow. Dongming Province, Sisui Prefecture's capital, Duanmu clan's courtyard. As one of the 2 great noble clans of Dongming Province, the Duanmu clan occupied an area of several thousand mu. There were countless pavilions, corridors, and courtyards. At this moment, there was a cold and elegant girl sitting on a wooden chair in the main hall. Her gaze was very cold. One look from her could make one feel a bone-chilling cold. This was the Duanmu clan's princess, Duanyuking. Occasionally, there would be servants rushing in. These people did not dare to look her in the eye. When they arrived, they immediately knelt on the ground. Reporting to First Miss, Nanling Province's Ji clan's Ji Changkong has arrived and is waiting in the front yard. Hua Yunfei of Dongming's Hua clan has arrived and is waiting in the front yard. The Misty Sword sect's first disciple, Chu Chaoyun, has arrived. He is also waiting in the front yard. Night Spirit Palace's second disciple, Mu Yinxue, has arrived and is waiting in the front yard. The Duke's Gi Marquis, Ing Xiao, has arrived and is waiting in the front courtyard. The servant's voice only stopped after reporting more than 10 people. Any one of these people could be said to be famous in the Great Qin nation. They were all outstanding talents of the younger generation. Unexpectedly, they were all gathered in the Duanmu clan today. If outsiders knew of such a situation, they would definitely be astonished. They would not know what had happened for the Duanmu clan to gather all the geniuses of the Great Qin nation's younger generation. Duanyuking slowly stood up and asked, aside from Mu Qingxue, who is in seclusion, who else is not here? A middle-aged woman beside, Xiao Chen replied, aside from him, there is only the Heavenly Saber Pavilion's Murong Chong. Furthermore, I heard that the Heavenly Saber Pavilion treated our invitation as a mission and sent it out. They did not take it seriously at all. Duanyuking's expression did not change. He said indifferently, there is no need to bother with them. Murong Chong has already left the Heavenly Saber Pavilion. I believe they will not be able to send anyone decent. They are preparing to send someone over. After Duanmu Qing spoke, she led a few women with high cultivations to the front yard. Before they reached the front yard, a loud sound rang out. Before they reached the front yard, they felt a strong aura rushing into the sky. They did not give way to each other. They were fighting in the sky, causing the sky to change color. The people who came this time were all dragons and phoenixes among men. Naturally, they were not willing to be inferior to others. It was clear that these auras were done on purpose. In the front yard, there were more than 100 people seated in 4 directions. One direction for the Dongming Province, one direction for the Nanling Province, one direction for the Shihe Province, and one direction for the Prince's residence. The weakest of these people was a superior grade martial saint. Many of them had comprehended their own states and could easily kill an inferior grade martial king. The vast front yard was exceptionally quiet. However, under this silence, there was an undercurrent. The scions of the various noble clans were sizing up their competitors. Dong! 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 Footsteps could be heard. It was Duan walking in. The woman beside her revealed a smile and said softly, "Thank you, everyone, for giving face to the Duanmu clan and coming as arranged." In the front yard, a purple-robed youth sat in the south. He laughed strangely and said in a cynical manner, "Ha ha, I am not giving face to the Duanmu clan. I am here for my own fortuitous encounter." Cut the crap. Duan, what exactly is the Firely Sect Branch Hall remnant that you mentioned? Tell us more clearly. I believe everyone here is here for a fortuitous encounter. The person who spoke was said to be the last sect in the Tianwu continent that had a complete method to forge secret treasures. After the destruction of the Tianwu dynasty, the person who spoke was called Sun Wei. He was the scion of the Sun clan, one of the two noble clans of the Nanling province. He was very strong. However, his fame was suppressed by Mu Qingxue and Ji Changkong. Hence, not many people knew about him. Based on what Sun Wei said, no wonder Duan was able to gather all the outstanding talents of the great Qin nation. It turned out that there was the temptation of a fortuitous encounter. The geniuses all had the same starting line. The amount of fortuitous encounters they had would determine how far they could go in the future and how outstanding they were. Many of the people here had experienced their own fortuitous encounters. They were very familiar with the benefits. It was impossible for them not to come. The Firely sect was lost in the long river of history, mysteriously disappearing. Not to mention finding the method to forge secret treasures. Just finding a few high-ranked secret treasures would allow everyone's strength to increase significantly. Or perhaps they could find a few special martial techniques of the Firely sect. They could also increase their strength significantly. It had to be known that 10,000 years ago, the Firely sect was an existence that could rival a holy land. The martial techniques in the sect would definitely not be simple. Duan looked at Sun Wei coldly, causing the latter to feel a deep chill. He said indifferently, "When everyone is here, I will naturally tell you." Sun Wei was a little flustered by this look. He quickly circulated his essence and forced out the chill from the bottom of his heart. Ji Changkong, who was not far behind Sun Wei, said indifferently, "Who else is not here yet? The Heavenly Saber Pavilion's Morong Chong?" Reporting to First Miss, "The people from the Heavenly Saber Pavilion are here," a servant said quickly as he ran in. Duan said softly, "Invite him in." After they arrived at the Duanmu clan's residence, Xiao Chun handed over the mission contract and was quickly let in. From a distance, Xiao Chun could feel all sorts of auras clashing intensely in the air above the front yard. While waiting for the notification, Xiao Chun extended out his spiritual sense. The appearances of everyone in the front yard immediately appeared in his vision. Xiao Chun withdrew his spiritual sense and smiled faintly. The Gi Marquis, Ji Changkong, Hua Yunfei, Duan Chu Chaoyun, and Mu Yanxue. There are many familiar faces here. Aside from these people, Xiao Chun was surprised to see Yun Kursen. As for the others that he did not recognize, he could guess their identities. If they were not from the three great sects, then they were the disciples of the inherited noble clans. All of them were at least superior grade martial saints. Every noble clan disciple brought 2 or 3 subordinates with them. This mission is probably different from what I expected. It is definitely not a simple escort mission. Xiao Chun collected his thoughts and thought to himself, "I'll take it one step at a time. When the time comes, I'll act according to the situation. I can use this opportunity to understand their strength." Without waiting for long, the person who led Xiao Chun in immediately passed on Duan Yuking's words to him. "Young Master Yi, the young miss invites you in." Xiao Chun nodded and sorted out his emotions. Then he slowly walked in. "Xiao." The moment he entered, Xiao Chun felt countless gazes directed at him. Some of these gazes were filled with disdain, some with doubt, and some with undisguised mockery. Xiao Chun maintained a calm expression as he took in everyone's expressions. When he discovered that Ji Chong Kong and the others did not have any strange expressions, he relaxed slightly. On the other hand, Chu Chaoyun's reaction surprised Xiao Chun. He only glanced at Chu Chaoyun briefly before ignoring him. Then, Chu Chaoyun closed his eyes and rested. When Xiao Chun felt Yun Kursen's gaze, he nodded at her. He discovered that her cultivation had actually broken through to superior grade martial saint in a short period of time. It looks like she has already completely comprehended the heaven-ranked cultivation technique, the roaming dragon incantation. Suddenly, Sun Wu laughed loudly within the crowd. He pointed at Xiao Chun and said, "How funny. Duamuking, you made us wait for so long just for this trash? He's just a medial grade martial saint. Is he even fit to compete with us for a fortuitous encounter?" Duamuking was mildly surprised as well. He did not expect the Heavenly Saber Pavilion to be so perfunctory. Even if Murong Chong did not come, sending a peak superior grade martial saint should not be difficult. Aside from Murong Chong, who else in the Heavenly Saber Pavilion is worth looking at? "Go back to where you came from," a royal clan disciple in the royal court said casually. The Dongming province's Hua Yunfei also smiled coldly and said, "A medial grade martial disciple is just sending himself to death. Duamuking, don't tell me you are going to invite such a person as well." The matter of Xiao Chun defeating Murong Chong was only known by a small number of people in the Xia province. It had not spread out on a large scale. Aside from the Shi clan Shi Feng, Mu Yinxue, Yun Kursin, and the others who knew Xiao Chen's true strength, no one else knew. However, when they saw Xiao Chun ridiculing them, they did not say anything. They only watched quietly as the situation developed. Sun Wu revealed a cold expression and said sullenly, "Are you still not going to scram? Don't blame me for making a move." So, a strong wind blew in the courtyard, picking up the fallen leaves and causing them to dance in the air. Sun Wu leaped into the air, passing through countless fallen leaves as he punched at Xiao Chun. Xiao Chun's expression was incomparably calm. He did not feel any joy or sorrow in his heart. When he saw Sun Wu flying over, he casually waved his hand. The lightning-attributed spiritual energy in the air immediately gathered and formed a clump of intense purple flames. It appeared in front of Sun Wu and flew at him. Chapter 306. You dare to make a move against me with such a small amount of lightning-attributed fire? You overestimate yourself. Break for me. Xiao Chun roared ferociously. The fist wind was like a pillar as it struck the purple thunder true fire that Xiao Chun formed. Bang! The purple flames exploded, creating a shockwave in the air. The huge force shocked Sun Wei, who was in the air. Sun Wei's punch did not scatter the purple flames. Unexpectedly, after the purple flames exploded, they could still produce such a huge force. Boom! 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 Before Sun Wei could react, Xiao Chun waved his right hand 3 more times. 3 clumps of purple flames shot out from 3 different directions at Sun Wei. Sun Wei spun around in the air and kicked. There was an explosive sound in the air. One of the clumps of purple flames shattered and turned into a purple shockwave. Using the force of this kick, Sun Wei quickly changed his angle and dodged the 2 clumps of purple flames. Boom! 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 Xiao Chun's expression did not change. He casually sent out another 4 clumps of purple flames at Sun Wei. Sun Wei's expression turned slightly angry. His body, which had been preparing to charge forward, could not help but move back and scatter the purple flames. Following Xiao Chun's casual movements, Sun Wei's body flipped continuously in the air as he shouted. However, he could not get close to Xiao Chun. Instead, the purple lightning-attributed fire pushed him further back. Purple thunder, true fire. Xiao Chun shouted, and all the remnant purple lightning in the air instantly formed a huge clump of purple flames. This lightning-attributed fire was incredibly ferocious. The moment it appeared, the temperature in the courtyard rose by more than 1,000 degrees Celsius. The flowers and plants in the courtyard were scorched and turned into ashes. Bang! Sun Wei, who was in the air, was caught off guard. He only had time to form a barrier of essence. The ferocious flames immediately struck him, giving off a loud sound. His body fell to the ground like a sandbag and rolled far away. When the others saw Sun Wei tumbling to the ground, their expressions changed. They no longer looked at Xiao Chan with the contempt they had earlier. Almost everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. Sun Wei's strength could be ranked in the top 30 among the 100 people present. However, Xiao Chan did not move at all. With just a few casual waves of his hand, he had sent Sun Wei flying. This level of strength was enough to make one's heart palpitate. Many of them swapped the scene just now and came to the same conclusion. If they were Xiao Chun, they would also be able to repel Sun Wei, but they would not be able to do it as easily as Xiao Chun. Withdraw! Xiao Chun shouted and clenched 2 fingers on his right hand. The scattered purple qi in the air quickly gathered at his fingertips. In the blink of an eye, it turned into a huge flame whirlpool. The purple flames continued to condense and finally formed a small wisp of flame, swaying and dancing above his 2 fingers. After Sun Wei rolled on the ground, he pushed off the ground and quickly stood up. His expression was incredibly sullen, and a murderous intent appeared in his eyes. Sun Wei's right hand quickly grasped the sword at his waist. Punching and kicking were his weaknesses. Earlier, he saw that Xiao Chan did not draw a weapon, so he did not bother drawing one. However, he did not expect to embarrass himself in front of everyone. Sun Wei did not think that his strength was weaker than Xiao Chun, a medial grade martial saint. Furthermore, he was a cultivator with an inherited martial spirit. If he used his full strength, Xiao Chun would not be a match for him. Today, no one can save you. Die. Setting sunbreak. Sun Wei roared ferociously and drew the sword at his waist. A setting sun appeared from nowhere and turned into a dazzling sword light, shooting at Xiao Chun. Xiao Chun smiled faintly and said softly, "Release." The swaying flame on Xiao Chun's fingertips suddenly turned into a roaring fire dragon. It carried countless arcs of electricity and surging heat waves as it soared into the air. Duamuking's expression turned grave. He knew that if they continued fighting like this, one of them would be severely injured. This would not be beneficial to this operation. Her lily-white hands stretched out in the air, and an ice wall rose from the ground, blocking the fire dragon and sword chi. The temperature in the air plummeted. The blazing sun hung overhead, but it made everyone feel like they had fallen into an ice cave. Frost covered everything in the front yard. It was like everything had stopped moving. The sun-like sword chi and the purple fire dragon were attacked by a strange cold current on the ice wall. They were quickly frozen at a speed visible to the naked eye. Bang! When the sword chi and the fire dragon were 5 meters away from the ice wall, they were completely frozen. When they crashed into the ice wall, they immediately shattered into countless tiny ice shards. Unexpectedly, the martial techniques of the two were broken by Duanmu Qing at the same time. This move shocked everyone present. Xiao Chun was mildly astonished. After not seeing Duamuking for a year, Duamuking's strength had actually become so horrifying. Duamuking withdrew his hand and scattered the ice wall. The temperature in the front yard returned to normal. The feeling of falling into an ice cave instantly disappeared. Sun Wei, if you still want to participate in this mission, you better shut your mouth and sheath your sword, Duamuking said expressionlessly. Sun Wei snorted coldly and sheathed his sword. The strength that Duamuking had displayed made him not dare to be as impudent as he was earlier. Sun Wei glanced coldly at Xiao Chan and said, "Heavenly Saber Pavilion's trash. After this mission ends, you better pray that you do not meet me." Boom! Just as Sun Wei finished speaking, there was suddenly a deafening clap of thunder in the sky. A bright light flashed in Xiao Chen's calm eyes. Killing Qi immediately surged out, and he placed his right hand on his saber hilt. Windwalk shoes activated. Blue Dragon Cloud Soaring Arts High-Ranked Technique. Roaming Dragons 9 Transformations. Qingyan Peaks Secret Technique. Clear Wind Chop. Suddenly, 9 cool breezes blew in the front yard. As the cool breezes caressed one's face, it made one's heart relax. Suddenly, Xiao Chen's figure split into 9. Xiao Chun drew his saber, and 9 resplendent saber lights lit up. However, no one could feel any killing intent. With the aid of the Windwalk shoes, Xiao Qian's speed instantly reached the speed of sound. The saber lights danced around as fast as lightning. The 9 figures moved like the wind. It was dazzling. It was hard to tell which was real and which was fake. Boom! When the cool breezes stopped, the 9 figures merged together. Sun Wei had 9 more wounds on his body. He had just drawn his sword. He did not even have the chance to draw it. The bright tip of the lunar shadow saber pressed against Sun Wei's throat. He did not even dare to breathe loudly. Blood gushed out of his wound like a fountain. Sun Wei's complexion instantly paled. The tip of the saber pressed against his neck made him feel like death was so close to him for the first time. He even felt numb to the pain of his wound. He could no longer feel it. Xiao Chun flicked his wrist and scratched Sun Wei's neck, leaving behind a faint trace of blood. He said indifferently, "Now that I have touched you, what do you think you want?" Sun Wei's complexion paled. He was enraged. However, when he saw Xiao Qian's cold gaze, he did not dare to say anything. He felt that if he resisted, this person would not hesitate to kill him. Mu Qingxue was not around. Ji Changkong was the leader of the Nanling province's outstanding talents. At this moment, when Ji Changkong saw Xiao Chun pressing his saber against Sun Wei's neck as the leader of the Nanling province, it would be inexcusable if he did not make a move. Ji Changkong slowly got up and walked over. The stars in his eyes flickered continuously. A boundless river of stars flowed in all directions. This made his eyes look boundlessly deep. If one was not careful, they would sink deep into the abyss. Ji Changkong walked until he was about 10 meters away from Xiao Chun. He said sullenly, "Friend, this is a little too much." Xiao Chun turned around and looked straight into Ji Changkong's eyes. He said indifferently, "How is it too much? He is only allowed to threaten and insult me. I'm not allowed to retaliate." The moment Sun Wei entered the front yard, he immediately took the lead in mocking Xiao Chun. Although Xiao Chun could not be bothered with him, he was not a saint. He could remain indifferent when others scolded him. The second time Sun Wei made a move, he directly threatened Xiao Chun. This crossed Xiao Chun's bottom line. Although Xiao Chun had already sentenced Sun Wei to death in his heart, he did not intend to kill Sun Wei right now. This mission was definitely not simple. If he did not display a certain level of strength, he might not even be qualified to participate. Xiao Chun's main purpose in making such a forceful move was to intimidate the crowd. At the same time, he wanted to display his strength so that Sun Wei would not dare to be too presumptuous. This was how the world was. If Xiao Chun had displayed his strength from the start, there would not have been so many doubts. Ji Changkong looked at the wound on Sun Wei's chest and said, "Let him go first. I, Ji Changkong, guarantee that Sun Wei will not seek trouble for you during this mission. You will also have a share in this fortuitous encounter." Whether he sought trouble during the mission or not after the mission was over, Ji Changkong did not care. Xiao Chun smiled faintly to himself. This Ji Changkong really knew how to play word games. However, Xiao Chun had already achieved his goal. All he needed to do was to stop. Even if Sun Wei wanted to settle the score later, he was not afraid. He would just kill him. "Kassier." Xiao Chun sheathed his saber and said indifferently, "I hope your guarantee is effective." Sun Wei immediately felt a wave of relief. He quickly pressed the acupuncture point on his chest to stop the blood from gushing out. The two Sun family disciples who came with him were immediately supported by him and left the room. Uchi, just as Xiao Chun turned around, Ji Changkong suddenly made a move. The stars in his eyes started to flicker rapidly. When Ji Changkong sent out a palm strike, starlight filled the sky. The area within 100 meters of Ji Changkong turned into a resplendent galaxy. "I guarantee that he will not seek trouble for you, but I did not guarantee that I will not seek trouble for you. Don't think that there is no one in Nanling province that you can do whatever you want," Ji Changkong said with a sinister expression. Xiao Chun turned around and a tiger and dragon revolved around him. The dragon and tiger body, sculpting art, circulated rapidly. Xiao Chun punched, carrying the might of a tiger and a soaring dragon as he welcomed the attack. Bang! When the fist and palm met, there was a loud sound. An intense shock wave spread out, forming a strong wind that blew in the courtyard. Everyone's clothes and hair fluttered in the wind. The stars behind Ji Changkong flickered. The starlight filled the sky and poured into his palm strike. The energy of the entire galaxy gathered together. However, this was the first time Xiao Chun used the final move of the Great Dragon Tiger Fist, Tiger and Dragon Soaring, after he cultivated the dragon and tiger body, sculpting art to the threshold of the 5th layer. Xiao Chen's strength reached 15,000 kilograms. Regardless of aura or strength, he was not weaker than his opponent. Chapter 307. The two of them were evenly matched. The instant their fists and palms collided, they both took 5 steps back. Both of them felt their right arms go numb. The chi and blood in their bodies churned violently, and their internal organs trembled. Enough, whoever takes the initiative to attack can leave immediately. I, Duamyuking, will only say it once. If you don't believe me, feel free to give it a try. Duamyuking had an incomparably gloomy expression on her cold face. Her icy tone made it impossible for anyone to doubt her determination. Ji Changkong looked at the calm Xiao Chun and knew that he could not take him down in a short period of time. He could only give up. The stars in the sky immediately disappeared, and everything returned to normal. However, I have not tested out his true strength. It looks like there is another competitor in this fortuitous encounter. Ji Changkong thought to himself with some regret. In the ancient remnant in the savage forest, Ji Changkong had obtained the benefits of a fortuitous encounter. Hence, his desire for and competition for fortuitous encounters was much stronger than others. Seeing Ji Changkong withdraw, Xiao Chen did not have any intentions of continuing. He knew that Ji Changkong only wanted to test his strength. It was far from a life and death situation. Duamyuking turned around and said to Xiao Chun, I have not asked for your name. Also, please show me the mission contract and your Heavenly Saber Pavilion identity token. Xiao Chun handed over the mission contract and identity token. Qingyan Peak, Yi Chun. Qingyan Peak? When Duamyuking heard these 3 words, her heart skipped a beat. She had some understanding of the Heavenly Saber Pavilion situation. The reason Murong Chong left the Heavenly Saber Pavilion was because he lost to a Qingyun Peak disciple. From the looks of it, it was very likely to be this person. After checking the identity, token, and mission contract, Duamyuking said softly, Please take a seat. I will count you in for this mission. After Xiao Chun sat down, Duamyuking said softly, I don't need to say anything about the Firely sect. Everyone should be clear on this. During the Tianwu dynasty, all the secret treasures of the continent came from this sect. They are also the only sect that grasped the ability to refine secret treasures after the ancient era. This time, our Duanmu clan's main objective is not the Firely sect, but the profound ice flower in front of the Firely sect. As long as everyone can let me obtain the profound ice flower, I can help everyone open the entrance to the Firely sect branch hall ruins. Hua Yunfei said indifferently, The profound ice flower is not an ordinary spirit herb. Why should we give it to you? Also, how can you prove that there are remnants of a Firely sect branch beside the profound ice flower? If you leave immediately after obtaining the profound ice flower, wouldn't we all be fooled by you? You have to give us a reason that can convince us all. The profound ice flower was a very mysterious flower. Originally, the Martial Sky continent did not have such a flower. It was rumored that during the ancient era, after the Ice Empress, an emperor-level expert, died, her blood was scattered all over the place. Then it grew into this flower. The entire flower was made up of the purest ice-attributed spiritual energy. It was crystal clear, pure, and flawless. This flower could not immediately increase a cultivator's cultivation. However, if an ice-attributed cultivator consumed this flower, their physique would become the legendary spiritual body. They would be able to comprehend the state of ice to the limit. Furthermore, they would be able to cultivate ice-attributed martial techniques several times faster than regular cultivators. It was rumored that the Duanmu clan was the descendant of the Ice Empress. The profound ice incantation that they passed down was derived from the Ice Empress cultivation technique. Hence, this profound ice flower was even more important to the Duanmu clan than regular cultivators. If she obtained it, she would be able to increase the strength of the Duanmu clan rapidly. This was undoubtedly bad news for the other noble clans. Hua Yunfei's words also represented the intentions of the others. Duanmu had to give them a reason to give up on the profound ice flower. Furthermore, he had to take out concrete evidence to prove the existence of the Firely Sect branch hall. Duanmu clearly expected the crowd to have such doubts. He said calmly, "The location of the profound ice flower is in a demonic beast forest. There's a seal on the land of the 3 holy masters there. Demonic beasts and cultivators above Martial King are not allowed to enter. This time, I will only bring 4 people with me. If there were no Firely Sect remnants, you would be able to kill me easily with your strength. After I obtain the profound ice flower, I will not want any of the treasures in the Firely Sect. As for the evidence you want, I cannot take it out. However, I can only use my life as a guarantee. If you believe me, you can go. If you don't, you can leave now." After the crowd heard Duanmu words, they all started to make their own plans. Although Duanmu did not take out any evidence, no one expressed any intention of leaving even after a long time. There was nothing they could do about it. The temptation of a fortuitous encounter was too great. If they left, other geniuses like them would obtain the treasures in the fortuitous encounter. Who knows, they might be left behind forever, and it would be too late to regret it. Furthermore, everyone believed that Duanmu did not have the guts to lie to them. Every single person in the front yard had a power comparable to the Duanmu clan. If they incurred the wrath of the crowd, it would only be a matter of 1 or 2 days before the Duanmu clan was destroyed. Chu Chaoyun, who had been silent all this while, suddenly opened his eyes and asked, "Demonic beast forest? Which demonic beast forest?" Duanmu replied softly, "The one below Ink Mountain, the Ink Forest." "What's going on?" "Ink Forest." When everyone present heard the words, Ink Forest, they immediately took a deep breath of cold air. Their expressions changed greatly, and many of them started to hesitate. The Ink Forest was a demonic beast forest 5,000 meters below the ground. It was located at the bottom of the Ink Mountain Range. The entire Ink Mountain Range was a demonic beast mountain range. It was a famous, dangerous place within the Great Qin Nation. The spirit veins of the entire mountain range were all contaminated by demonic qi. Within a radius of 500 kilometers, the trees, flowers, and plants could be fatal if they were not careful. Without a Martial King cultivation, entering the core of the mountain range was no different from committing suicide. In comparison, the Ink Forest could be considered a forbidden land. The spirit veins origin of the entire Ink Mountain range that had been demonized was beneath the Ink Forest. The entire spirit veins origin had been contaminated. This was extremely rare in the Tianwu continent. Back then, even the 3 holy masters were unable to completely seal it. They could only leave a barrier to control the demonic beasts within. Those above Martial King would not be able to come out. Otherwise, if the horrifying demonic beasts inside came out, it would be an unbearable disaster for the surrounding cities. Duanmu said softly, "Everyone, there is no need to worry after entering the Ink Mountain Range. The Duanmu clan's profound ice palace will escort everyone safely to the entrance of the Ink Forest. Furthermore, the profound ice flower and the Firely Sect's remnant are not in the core of the forest." Even so, the doubts on everyone's faces did not disappear. They quickly calculated the risks and benefits in their hearts. Fortuitous encounters were often accompanied by danger. Walking the line between life and death, there had never been a free fortuitous encounter. Even if there was a free fortuitous encounter, the gains would not be great. Before the crowd came, they had already made their mental preparations. However, when they heard that they were going to the Ink Forest, they were caught off guard and hesitated. A fortuitous encounter was good. However, if they did not have their lives to obtain it, it would be all for naught. Chu Chaoyun thought for a while and said, "If it is only the periphery, we can give it a try." Hua Yunfei, can give it a try as well. However, it is just the ink forest. I want to see what kind of dragon's pool or tiger's den it is. Why would I Ji-Chanka not dare? Mu Yin-Shue is willing to give it a try as well. After Chu Chaoyan spoke, the others all agreed. In the end, no one backed out. They all sat down and made their decision. Thinking about it, it was understandable. Everyone here was a dragon among men. No one would admit that they were weaker than the others. Even if they could see the risks and felt that someone was going to die, they would feel that the one dying would not be them. Xiao Chen looked at the high-spirited crowd and shook his head. This group of people probably had very little experience adventuring in the demonic beast forest. Most of them probably would not make it back alive. Seeing that everyone agreed, Duemyuking said, "Everyone, please rest for the night. We will depart tomorrow. Do not cause trouble in the residence. If you anger the elders, even I will not be able to protect you." Late at night, the moon hung high in the sky. Its golden light illuminated the ground. Xiao Chan was meditating in the guest room when he suddenly heard slow footsteps. He opened his eyes and sent out his spiritual sense. He discovered Yun Kursin standing outside the door. He quickly got up and welcomed her in. There was a graceful smile on Yun Kursin's delicate face. She said, "Congratulations, Senior Brother Yi. You defeated Murong Chong. Now, everyone in the entire Shiho province knows about you." Within the sect, strength was everything. Now that Xiao Chan defeated Murong Chong, it could be said that anyone in the Heavenly Saber Pavilion who met Xiao Chan would have to address him as Senior Brother Yi. It did not matter how long one had been in the sect. However, Yin Kursin's words were clearly teasing him. It was half a joke. Xiao Chun smiled and said softly, "There is no need to be so formal. Senior Sister Yin, just call me Xiao Chun. Have a seat. Why are you looking for me?" Yin Kursin slowly sat down and took out a secret manual. She smiled and said, "You can also call me Kursin. I am here to give you a secret manual. I have already comprehended the inferior grade heaven ranked cultivation technique, the roaming dragon incantation. Take a look." Xiao Chun felt excited. He received the secret manual and looked at it. The handwriting on the secret manual was very delicate. It should be Yun Kursin's handwriting. After taking 2 glances, Xiao Chun was completely engrossed in it. After a long time, he closed the secret manual and said, "Thank you very much. You are the only one who can share a heaven-ranked cultivation technique with me." Yun Kursin smiled casually and said, "Let me give you a reminder. Don't cultivate this cultivation technique for now. I can cultivate it immediately because of my martial spirit. Your martial spirit should be lightning attributed. The roaming dragon incantation is wind attributed. With the tyrannical nature of a heaven-ranked cultivation technique, it will immediately destroy the lightning-attributed essence in your body. Your cultivation will fall to a very low level for a short period of time. Furthermore, in the future, it will be very difficult for your essence to merge with other attributes." That was indeed the case. The tyrannical nature of a heaven-ranked cultivation technique was something Xiao Chun had experienced before. After the purple thunder divine incantation reached the 4th layer, it could not contain any other attributed essence. Currently, his body was filled with lightning-attributed essence. Furthermore, it was incredibly pure. Chapter 308. Xiao Chun had a clear understanding of his own strength. He was not blindly confident just because he obtained a heaven-ranked cultivation technique. Before they left, Dimyuking warned softly, "Everyone is free to look around the 1st and 2nd floors. However, do not enter the 3rd floor. I hope everyone will not break the rules." Xiao Chen looked around and discovered that there was not a single person in the huge hall. "That's not right. There's only one person." Xiao Chan focused his gaze. Duemyuking led the crowd to the 2nd floor. There were many cubicles on the 2nd floor. Basically, there were more than 100 people in each cubicle. It was said that there were only 10 flying secret treasures with complete battle patterns within the Great Qi Nation. The remaining 9 were in the hands of the royal court. "Uchi," Xiao Chun said sullenly, "if I want to preserve my lightning-attributed essence, is there any way to do so?" A deep light appeared in Xiao Chen's eyes. He had a grave expression as he said, I should not be in too much danger at the periphery of the ink forest. However, I should not let my guard down. The true danger might not be the demonic beasts in the forest, but the people around you. There is also the father who chased me out of Mo City. How is he doing now? Feng Feishua promised to take care of him. The noble clans should not make things difficult for him. Everyone entered in a single file. They were all curious about this profound ice palace that had been famous for a long time. They looked around the ice palace. Xiao Chun closed his eyes and entered deep thought. After a long time, Xiao Chun suddenly opened his eyes. There was a resolute look in his eyes as he said, "It is better to bury the past in my heart. I cannot live in my memories. Since I have already embarked on the path of cultivation, I should not look back." Why? This was a problem that had troubled Xiao Chun for a long time. Even now, he had not completely resolved it. Because of this, he had almost given up on cultivating the Ling Yun saber technique to great perfection. The moment Xiao Chun said this, some people felt disappointed. However, in this profound ice palace, no one had the guts to break the rules of the other party. Xiao Chun looked at the clouds from the cubicle window. He felt like he was on a plane in his previous life. Suddenly, some forgotten memories came back to him. Xiao Chun was incomparably shocked. He narrowed his eyes and looked at the flame with a grave expression. Yin Kursen explained, "It is too dangerous. Before I came, I did not expect to be in the ink forest. Moreover, the competition is too great. I have just obtained a heaven-tier cultivation technique, so my accumulation is still lacking compared to these people." Just as Xiao Chun was feeling puzzled, a leisurely voice drifted over. It was Chu Chaoyun inviting him to sit with him with a smile. The mystic ice palace landed steadily on the vast training field. Duamyuking opened the doors of the ice palace and invited everyone in. Suddenly, a huge shadow fell on top of everyone's heads. When they looked up, they discovered that it was a huge ice bird that was 300 meters long and could reach a wingspan of 400 meters when it spread its wings. "Look, the Duamu family's profound ice palace is flying over." However, in the hands of the Ice Empress, they were unable to resist at all. The peerless experts of the ancient era really make one yearn for them and fantasize about them. Is this the heavenly flame? As for the strongest, Xiao Chun, he could not see through his cultivation. This showed how much importance the Duanmu family placed on this profound ice palace. It looks like the Duanmu family put in a lot of effort for this mission. They really used the profound ice palace. I heard that flying and fighting in the profound ice palace cost 200 medial grade spirit stones a day. The two of them chatted for a while. Finally, Yin Kursen stood up and said, "I will take my leave first. I intend to give up on tomorrow's mission. Take care of yourself." The profound ice palace looked incomparably cold. However, when one entered, it did not make one feel too cold. Instead, it felt cool and comfortable. Recollecting his thoughts, a murderous intent flashed in Xiao Chen's eyes. It looked like this person had seen through his disguise. Chu Chaoyan put down his wine cup and clasped two fingers together. Suddenly, a strand of dazzling golden flame condensed on his fingertip. The light of the flame illuminated the entire hall of the profound ice palace. However, regarding dual cultivation, Xiao Chun still had some doubts. He asked, "In that case, why do I see cultivators with two attributes? Not only do they dual cultivate, but their cultivations are also not low." Xiao Chun did not even send out his spiritual sense, but he could feel 10 strong auras. The weakest was a medial grade Martial King. When Xiao Chun heard this, he was somewhat surprised. He believed in Yun Kursen's strength. It would not be a problem for her to rank within the top 10. Why did she think of giving up? So, the profound ice palace left the ground and quickly flew towards the horizon. In the blink of an eye, it entered the clouds and soared in all directions. "Brother Yi Chun, it's been a long time. Do you want to come over and have a seat?" Xiao Chen's spiritual sense was like a sharp arrow, silently cutting off this melancholy. It turned the memories into a fallen leaf and buried them in a corner of his mind. Yun Kursen smiled gently and said, "You were talking about Morong Chong, right? As far as I know, He cultivates the wind cloud incantation. This is a peak earth-ranked cultivation technique that fuses two attributes naturally. Such a cultivation technique is extremely rare. It is even more valuable than a heaven-ranked cultivation technique. Chu Chaoyan drained the wine cup in his hand in one gulp. He smiled and said, "In my opinion, you are the one who is unfathomable. However, I am really curious about your cultivation. How did it increase so quickly in just 1 year?" Xiao Chun said as he sat on the ice bed. Yin Kursin was able to calmly make a choice. He believed that many cultivators would be able to do this. Xiao Chun suddenly understood. So that is how it is. No wonder Murong Chong's state of wind and cloud could be merged so perfectly. I heard that this profound ice palace was left behind by an ancient expert, the Ice Empress. She used a secret technique to carve the 10,000-year-old ice soul from the extremely cold lands of the north. As the sun rose, its rays illuminated the land. Xiao Chun came out of his cultivation and washed up. Then, someone immediately led him to a dueling ground in the residence. The outstanding talents of various places gathered at the dueling ground. Xiao Chun took a look. Aside from Yin Kursin, almost no one left. Chu Chaoyan looked at Xiao Chun, who was sitting down. He said, "Brother Yi Chun, relax. I'm not here to ask you for that golden great spirit core. Why are you so nervous?" Xiao Chun would not be able to reach the Ink Mountain range before nightfall. Due to the earlier melancholy, Xiao Chun had been interrupted. For now, Xiao Chun was no longer in the mood to continue cultivating. He prepared to get up and take a look around the first floor. Placing the lunar shadow saber on the ice table, Xiao Chun picked up a grape from the table and ate one. He said indifferently, "You are still the same as before. You're always unfathomable." Unexpectedly, the golden flame contained a trace of a sovereign overlooking the world, a will of supremacy. It inspired reverence in one's heart. Before this tiny flame, Xiao Chun actually felt insignificant. A look of reminiscence appeared in Xiao Chen's eyes. He hugged the lunar shadow saber and leaned against the wall. He muttered, "In the blink of an eye, it has already been 2 years since I came to this world. I wonder how my relatives are doing." Chu Chaoyun's words hit a trace of desolation. With his incredibly sharp spiritual sense, Xiao Chun immediately caught it. However, he could not figure out what it meant. There were some exquisite murals carved on the surrounding walls. There were also several windows that allowed one to see the situation outside. The purple thunder divine incantation should not be any weaker than the roaming dragon incantation. It looks like I can still try cultivating the roaming dragon incantation. When Xiao Chun arrived at the cubicle that belonged to him, he sized it up. If he excluded the ice sculptures, this cubicle was no different from the cubicle on the ground floor. As Xiao Chun watched Chu Chaoyun leave, he entered deep thought. Chu Chaoyun's humility was something that all cultivators should learn. Since ancient times, how many geniuses had died due to blind confidence? As for geniuses who died young, they were no longer geniuses. They were just stepping stones for others. The ice bird under the profound ice palace gave off a sharp cry. The surrounding air became like a whirlwind, kicking up sand and rocks in the dueling grounds. Xiao Chun retorted, "Compared to you, who possesses the heavenly flame, it is not even worth mentioning." Yin Kursin thought for a while and said, "It is not like there is none. If you can find a heaven-ranked, lightning-attributed cultivation technique that is not inferior to the roaming dragon incantation, or a peak earth-ranked, lightning-attributed cultivation technique, it should be possible. However, after that, you will have to rest twice. The growth of your cultivation will be slower than that of regular cultivators." The taste of the grapes was very refreshing. It looked like this ice palace had the effect of keeping them fresh and chilling. Chu Chaoyun's attire was the same as before, wearing alternating blue and white robes. He carried a sword on his back that looked like it would never be drawn. He always had a carefree expression on his face. His state had collapsed, and his saber technique had disappeared. Before he attacked, he would be full of openings. In a life-and-death battle, how could he dare to use it? If he cultivated a dual-attributed cultivation technique, everything would fall into place. However, He did not know how Yun Kursin knew this secret. After entering the first floor of the Ice Palace, Xiao Chun saw a very wide hall. There were tables, chairs, benches, and all sorts of other furniture in the hall. Of course, these furniture were all made of ice. Xiao Chun withdrew his aura and could not help but tighten his grip on the scabbard in his left hand. Then, he slowly walked over to the round table where Chu Chaoyan was. This was because Xiao Chen's comprehension of the saber technique state of mountains had stopped growing. Furthermore, it showed signs of regressing. The state of mountains and clouds had completely collapsed. Whoa! Xiao Chun saw Chu Chaoyan sitting on an exquisite round table made of ice. He was currently holding a cup of wine and drinking by himself. Xiao Chun was surprised. What's going on? My vision clearly swept across the entire hall. Why did I only notice this person after taking a second glance? The 10,000-year-old ice soul already possessed a very high level of spiritual intelligence and cultivation. It was no longer an ordinary piece of ice. Its combat prowess rivaled that of a martial sage. Chu Chaoyan filled his wine cup again and smiled faintly. Heavenly flame? The heavenly flame that can burn the entire continent? Who knows, it might just be a joke. If it were that powerful, how could the Tianwu dynasty be destroyed? Xiao Chun was not too surprised. This was not the first time his spiritual sense was blocked. He withdrew his spiritual sense and went to the hall on the first floor with a calm expression. Xiao Chun pushed open the ice door of the cubicle and walked down the corridor, heading for the staircase. Xiao Chun habitually extended his spiritual sense out. However, he discovered that it was blocked by a formless barrier. It could only remain within 10 meters of him. There was a 9-story ice palace on the back of the iceberg. This was the famous profound ice palace of the Duanmu clan. Chapter 309. Fortunately, there is only a trace of this supreme will. If there were several times more, Xiao Chun would not even have the courage to fight. He would just end up prostrating on the ground. Looking at the swaying heavenly flame, Xiao Chun could not help but think of the dragon flame that he saw on Inyu's body. Although the might of this strand of heavenly flame could not compare to that dragon flame, its aura was much stronger. Suddenly, Xiao Chun thought, if wills can be infused into the heavenly flame, then can I infuse my state into the purple thunder true fire as well? A fierce purple flame started burning in Xiao Chen's right eye. When he looked around, it looked like a boundless sea of fire. The flames quickly gathered and formed a strand of purple flame. The purple thunder true fire's origin flame flew out of Xiao Chen's right eye and swayed on his fingertip. With a thought, the peak's small perfection state of thunder instantly poured into the origin flame. Z. Countless purple electric currents appeared behind Xiao Chun. The purple light immediately chased away the golden light from Chu Chaoyun's heavenly flame. Success! Xiao Chun rejoiced in his heart as he thought excitedly. Indeed, I can infuse my state into the purple thunder true fire. Now, I can finally fight against my heavenly flame. Before this, when facing the resplendent golden heavenly flame, Xiao Chun did not even have the courage to unleash the purple thunder true fire. Instantly, one side of the hall was filled with a resplendent golden light, and the other side was filled with a strange purple light. The two lights clashed in an invisible manner. All the items on the ice table floated up when the two auras clashed. Chu Chaoyan smiled faintly and said, "You learn very fast. Let me try and see how strong it is." Right after Chu Chaoyan spoke, he thrust his fingers forward. All the golden light in the hall returned to the heavenly flame with a schwa sound. In an instant, that tiny strand of heavenly flame became extremely dazzling, like a miniature golden sun. That sovereign overlooking the world, the aura of supremacy, rose to its peak at the same time. A strong wind blew on Chu Chaoyan's body. His clothes fluttered, and his hair fluttered. It was like the Tianwu Emperor had possessed him, looking dignified and dignified. Xiao Chen's expression changed. He quickly gathered the scattered purple chi behind him into his origin flame. He brought out the state of thunder to its limits. A bolt of boundlessly resplendent electric light appeared in the strange purple flame. He pushed his right hand forward as well and met the attack without any hesitation. Bang! The two flames quickly collided and a loud bang rang out in the hall. A violent shock wave spread out, and the items floating in the hall were immediately crushed into a pile of powder. The terrifying power reverberated in the hall, causing the entire profound ice palace to tremble uncontrollably. This startled everyone in the profound ice palace. Xiao Chen's complexion was somewhat pale. A huge force swept over, and his body flew back 10 meters before landing heavily on the ground. On the other hand, Chu Chaoyan only took 3 steps back. Against an incomplete strand of heavenly flame, Xiao Chen's full-powered purple thunder true fire lost in a contest of strength. A golden light flashed in Chu Chaoyan's eyes. The scattered heavenly flame immediately vanished. Seeing the grave expression on Xiao Chen's face, Chu Chaoyan said indifferently, "Don't treat me as your enemy. Sooner or later, you will understand that our mission is actually the same." Chi! The profound ice palace stopped shaking. Suddenly, 4 streams of ice water appeared on the ice surface of the hall. The ice water slowly turned into 4 human-shaped blocks of ice. Then, they turned into 4 delicate and pretty girls. The 2 of you, if you test your moves in the profound ice palace for no reason again, no matter what your identity is, you'll be thrown out of the profound ice palace. One of the girls said in a cold voice with an expressionless face. Seeing the other cultivators rushing down the stairs, Chu Chaoyan bowed slightly and smiled. "My apologies, there will not be a next time." The test between Xiao Chun and Chu Chaoyan was just a small interlude in the profound ice palace's flight. The huge profound ice palace continued to fly at Mach 2, heading for the ink forest. In a booth on the 2nd floor, Xiao Chun continued to try merging his state with the purple thunder true fire. The might of the legendary heavenly flame was indeed horrifying. The first time he merged his state, he could barely match the heavenly flame. Xiao Chun was already very satisfied, even though that strand of heavenly flame was not even a tenth of the true heavenly flame. However, Xiao Chen's purple thunder true fire had not reached its full potential. The purple thunder divine incantation had a total of 12 layers. Currently, he had only cultivated it to the 4th layer. If he broke through another layer in the future, he might have a chance to compete with the heavenly flame. When the sky turned dark, Xiao Chen noticed that the clouds outside the window had suddenly turned pitch black. This caused his mood to worsen. Xiao Chen stopped what he was doing and looked down from the window. He saw a huge mountain range that rose and fell endlessly. The entire mountain range was covered in a black fog, lingering around the peaks. When the cool breeze blew, the black fog seemed solid, not moving at all. "Is this the Ink Mountain Range?" Xiao Chun said with a grave expression. Rumble! Just at this moment, the entire profound ice palace started shaking. Although the tremors were not large, they continued for a long time without any signs of stopping. "We have encountered a large number of rank 7 flying demonic beasts in front. The profound ice palace will activate the combat formation. Everyone, please remain in your booth and do not move around. We will deal with it." A clear voice rang out in the ears of everyone on the 2nd floor, explaining the reason for the tremors. "They are actually rank 7 flying demonic beasts," Xiao Qin muttered to himself. "A rank 7 demonic beast is as strong as a high-ranked martial king. I wonder how the Duanmu clan is going to deal with it." However, since the profound ice palace has activated the combat formation, I can go and understand it. Who knows, it might be helpful for the Silver Warship to recover its combat formation. Xiao Chun had an idea. He looked at the window in the booth that was just big enough to fit his body. He did not hesitate and pushed his feet off the ground. His body quickly passed through it. Xiao Chun flew forward. There was a rather large empty space between the head of the ice bird and the ice palace. Xiao Chun decided to go there and observe the profound ice palace's combat formation in detail. Xiao Chen's body turned into a purple arc in the air. When he landed, there was a so sound. Ji Changkong, Hua Yunfei, and the others arrived one after another. The few of them exchanged glances with each other. Their gazes were somewhat unnatural. They did not expect others to follow them. Ji Chongkong smiled faintly. It looks like everyone is thinking the same thing. We all want to see what exactly is going on with the combat formation. In that case, let's go together. The powers behind a few of them all had one or two flying secret treasures. However, the combat formation was already damaged and could not be used. This would be an excellent opportunity to observe. A circular white barrier enveloped the profound ice palace in the air. Many flying demonic beasts rammed into the white barrier, bringing with them a sky full of black chi. Under the attacks of the demonic beasts, the profound ice palace trembled continuously. The light of the white chi barrier also started to weaken. Hua Yunfei, who was in the crowd, said sullenly, "Rank 7 demonic beasts are indeed horrifying. If we do not replenish this defensive formation with superior grade spirit stones, it will not last for long." Superior grade spirit stones? How could it be that easy to obtain them? They will probably activate the combat formation soon, another heir of the royal court said excitedly. Boom! Right after he spoke, a resplendent ball of light suddenly condensed in the ice bird's beak. In the next instant, the ball of light expanded infinitely. It turned into a pillar of light and pierced through the chi barrier. It swept away all the rank 7 demonic beasts blocking the way, turning them into ice shards. Xiao Chun looked up and saw the mysterious expert on the top floor of the profound ice palace continuously making hand seals. As his hand seals changed, the ice bird quickly changed its position and shot out pillars of light. Everywhere the pillars of light passed, none of the demonic beasts could block them. They all turned into pillars of ice before shattering into countless ice shards. Hu-chi! Hu-chi! Rings of light appeared around the 3rd floor of the profound ice palace. These rings of light were made up of dense, mysterious characters that glowed. The countless characters moved rhythmically in the air, as though they were forming something. Finally, the mysterious person on the top floor shouted, "Break!" All the characters quickly gathered together. After a while, they formed small, lifelike ice birds. The ice birds cried out and immediately shot out. Countless ice birds crashed into the surrounding rank 7 demonic beasts. However, there was no reaction. These demonic beasts were immediately covered in frost. In the next instant, they turned into huge ice sculptures in the air. Bang! The person on the top floor of the profound ice palace controlled the huge birds to crash into the demonic beasts. The ice sculptures in front of them immediately shattered. When all the demonic beasts were dead, Xiao Chun and the others sucked in a breath of cold air. They had not expected the might of the profound ice palace to be so great. They managed to kill hundreds of rank 7 demonic beasts in an instant. Xiao Chun muttered to himself, "Those mysterious characters should be the secret to carving combat formations." However, without systematic study, it is impossible to grasp such characters. After the demonic beasts were killed, everyone's field of vision immediately widened. Horrifying cries came from the front. When everyone looked over, they saw a large group of even more rank 7 demonic beasts. One of the people's expressions changed greatly. He said in horror, "The Ink Mountain Range has always feared flying through the sky. There was once an inferior grade martial monarch who tried to fly through the Ink Mountain Range. However, in the end, he had no choice but to retreat before the endless flying demonic beasts. Furthermore, he was severely injured. Although this profound ice palace is powerful, if the spirit stones cannot keep up with the expenditure, it will be dangerous." Right at this moment, everyone suddenly felt the temperature of the surrounding air drop by a lot. Furthermore, it continued to drop. Finally, that cold penetrated deep into their hearts. Everyone had no choice but to circulate their essence to resist it. What's going on? Everyone was shocked. Boundless cold air appeared around the ice palace, and the golden runes became hazy in the cold air. Then the mysterious person on the top floor let out a soft shout. Then the mysterious person on the top floor shouted. All the cold chi gathered together and formed a huge ice image. When one looked carefully, this image was the figure of a woman. Chapter 310. The Ice Empress was more than 200 meters tall. The image encased the Ice Palace, and a supreme aura pressed down. Everyone felt their shoulders sink like a mountain was pressing down on them. This is the ancient expert Bing Ho. Just her aura alone is enough to make it hard for us to move. Everyone paled as they resisted the overwhelming aura with great difficulty. They had to clench their teeth to even speak. Uchi! Suddenly, an ice sword appeared in the Bing Ho's hand. A sword light swept out, and a tear appeared in the space in front. The space shattered, and the destructive energy it brought tore apart the countless demonic beasts in the vicinity. With the Bing Ho's help, the profound ice palace was unstoppable in the sky above the Ink Mountain range. None of the demonic beasts could stop them. After the huge image of the Bing Ho appeared, the profound ice palace immediately became unrivaled. The supreme aura of a sage suppressed the rank 7 demonic beasts. They did not dare to get close. The 10-odd people in front of the ice palace struggled bitterly under this horrifying pressure. Actually, one could see the strength of each individual here. A few of them were already prostrating on the ground. They did not even have the strength to stand up. There were also some who knelt on one knee, sweat dripping down their faces. Only Ji Changkong, Hua Yunfei, Xiao Chun, and one of the heirs from the royal courts remained standing. However, the expressions of the 4 of them were not relaxed, either. If this dragged on, they would not be able to hold on for long. They would end up like the others, unable to stand up again after falling down. Xiao Chun quickly circulated the purple thunder divine incantation. He condensed his aura into a single line, resisting the formless aura. However, the pressure on his shoulders did not decrease at all. The aura was as heavy as a mountain. His feet felt like they were filled with lead. He could not move them at all. Just as the 4 of them could no longer hold on, a rectangular hole suddenly appeared in the ice palace. Duemyuking looked at everyone expressionlessly and said indifferently, "Quickly come in." When the doors of the ice palace opened, the pressure on everyone immediately lessened. Xiao Chun and the other 3 did not hesitate and quickly leaped in. A few of the heirs who were kneeling on one knee quickly pushed off the back of the ice bird and followed them in. The remaining 4 princes who were prostrating on the ground heaved a sigh of relief. Just as they struggled to get up, they realized that the doors of the ice palace had closed with a swoosh. The terrifying aura of the Ice Empress once again pressed down heavily like a towering mountain. Blood spurted out from their mouths as they fell to the ground, unable to get up no matter how hard they tried. The few people who entered the ice palace looked at each other with lingering fear. Even now, their hearts were still thumping nonstop. The experience just now was too unforgettable. There was a hint of anger on Duemyuking's icy face as he said in a deep voice, "I hope you will abide by the rules of our Duanmu clan and not walk around." This was not the first time Duemyuking had said this. However, because of their status and strength, they had not taken it seriously. They had thought that the Duanmu clan would not dare to do anything to them. However, now that they saw what happened to the 4 people outside, they no longer dared to underestimate these words. After Duanmu Kun left, Ji Changkong said indifferently, "The ancient era's martial emperor is just an image. Just its aura alone makes one unable to resist it. I wonder how strong it is." Hua Yunfei had a sinister smile on his face as he said, "I have a feeling that in this fiery sect remnant, all of us will end up helping this woman." Ji Changkong smiled in disdain. "What's wrong?" Even the young master Hua, who comprehended the ancient blood soul, is afraid of a woman? Hua Yunfei smiled calmly. Who is afraid of a woman? Everyone here is very clear on that. I heard that young Master Ji has not dared to go to the imperial capital for many years already. These 2 people had always been at odds with each other. Now that they relaxed, they immediately started teasing each other. The people from the royal courts all laughed softly. Naturally, they knew that Hua Yunfei was talking about Princess Ingyu defeating Ji Changkong in one move back then. Countless stars flashed in Ji Changkong's eyes. A murderous intent instantly surged out. However, it disappeared in a flash, and his gaze quickly calmed down. Ji Changkong sighed in his heart. It looks like in the past year, Hua Yunfei's mental state is much better than before. On the contrary, my mental state is somewhat imperfect. Thinking of this, Ji Changkong did not say anything else. He took the lead and went up to the second floor. The others also left one after another. The rest of the journey was very peaceful. Nothing else happened. The profound ice palace slowly descended to the core of the Ink mountain range. Bang! The huge ice bird landed on the ground and created an intense whirlwind. It scattered in all directions, causing the surrounding trees to sway continuously. However, the image of the ice palace did not scatter. Under the pressure of the aura, the surrounding demonic beasts all fled in different directions. Even though they were demonic beasts, this kind of supreme aura caused them to feel fear from the bottom of their hearts. After a long time, when all the surrounding demonic beasts had left, the image of the Ice Empress slowly faded away. The doors of the Ice Palace opened with a so sound. Under Duamuking's lead, everyone slowly descended from the profound Ice Palace. As for the 4 people lying on the back of the ice bird, they were completely dispirited. They could only give up on this mission. 500 meters in front of the group, there was a towering mountain wall. Below the mountain wall was a huge black hole. It was like the mouth of a demon. With one glance, it would cause one's heart to tremble. This hole was the entrance to the ink forest. It was pitch black and there was no sound or movement. It was very quiet. Xiao Chun slowly paced on the black ground. He was not in a rush to observe the hole. Instead, he circulated his essence and discovered that the surrounding spiritual energy was very thin. It was only 1/100th of the usual. Most of the spiritual energy in the air was demonic qi from the deep abyss demonic world. If one breathed in too much, it would cause one's body to demonize. It looks like I can only use spirit stones to recover my essence, Xiao Chun thought to himself. Fortunately, I still have a lot of medial-grade spirit stones. There is no need to worry about this. I just have to be careful not to absorb the spiritual energy here. Duamuking led the 4 peak martial saints of the Duanmu clan forward. As she said, she only brought 4 people. The other experts remained in the profound ice palace. The others were not willing to fall behind, so they quickly followed. Xiao Chun was slightly slower. He was at the back of the group. The moment Xiao Chun entered the hole, he immediately felt a cold current. The cold qi entered his body and attacked his internal organs. Xiao Chun was astonished. He quickly circulated his essence and protected his internal organs. At the same time, he split off some essence to quickly eliminate the cold qi that entered his body. They had to split their attention to protect their internal organs and eliminate the cold qi in their bodies. Like this, the speed of the group was much slower. The deep and serene cave seemed bottomless. It was pitch black. Everyone's vision was limited to less than 10 meters. What made them feel even more despair was that the many cultivators took out illumination stones, night pearls, and the things inside the flame stones. Normally, they would be able to light up a room. However, at this moment, they could not even give off a trace of light. Duamuking's voice came from the front. He said indifferently, "There are no other dangers in this tunnel. All the light is absorbed by the demonic qi in the air. There is no need to panic." Xiao Chun looked carefully. Indeed, there were strands of black substance lingering in the air. When the light came in contact with it, it would be silently absorbed. It was very strange. Although Duamuking said that there was no danger in this cave, Xiao Chun did not let down his guard. His right hand remained on his saber hilt. He withdrew his aura, ready to attack the moment there was any strange movement. No one spoke in this strange atmosphere in the quiet cave. Only the sound of footsteps could be heard. After walking for an unknown period of time, Xiao Chun felt that the tunnel under his feet was slanting more and more. They were already very deep underground. After a long time, the group's vision suddenly flashed. They finally walked out of the cave. A vast underground world appeared before their eyes. Before them was a boundless black forest. The forest was sinister and strange. Countless black fog lingered in the forest, and the roars of tyrannical beasts came from it. The roars reverberated in everyone's ears, causing them to feel frustrated and their chi and blood to surge. Unexpectedly, the roars of these beasts could disrupt their minds. "Is this the infamous ink forest?" a cultivator asked with a trembling voice. Duamyking nodded and said, "That's right. The three holy masters laid a barrier around the periphery of the forest. We are safe here. If we walk another 100 meters, we will enter the boundaries of the forest. Then what are we waiting for? Where is the profound ice flower? Let's go quickly," a scion of the royal court said anxiously. Duanmu Qing did not say anything else. She led the 4 experts of the Duanmu clan in first. The others followed behind in a line. When they broke through the formless barrier, Xiao Chun and the others fell to gaze on them. It was as though it could see through all their secrets. Bang, bang, bang. Just at this moment, a red light appeared on the bodies of the 5 middle-aged men. After a while, they exploded, dying without a complete corpse. This sudden turn of events startled everyone. The 5 dead men were from the noble clans of the royal courts. At this moment, the scions of the royal courts all had sullen expressions. It was unknown what they were thinking. Duamyking walked over to these people expressionlessly. He said coldly, "Didn't I say that we are not allowed to bring Martial King experts? A few of you can leave now. Go back to where you came from." Only now did everyone understand that these 5 scions from the royal courts had secretly brought Martial King experts with them. Furthermore, they had used some unknown method to fool the Duanmu clan's experts. However, in this ink forest, within the barrier of the 3 holy masters, there was nowhere for them to hide. They were blasted into smithereens. When the 5 of them heard Duamyking's words, they did not pay too much attention. There were a few superior-grade martial saint servants behind each of them. In total, there were 20 of them. They had far more people than the Duanmu clan. Chapter 3:11. The leader smiled coldly and said, "Duanmyking, this is no longer the profound ice palace. Don't try to order me around. Since I am already here, there is no way for me to leave. You better obediently lead the way. Otherwise, don't blame me for being merciless." Kassier. Right after he spoke, the 20 people behind him all drew their weapons. Killing chi radiated from their bodies as they stared at Duamyking. "Reckless." Duamyking snorted coldly. White ice ripples appeared under the feet of the 4 girls behind him. Soon, the ice ripples connected and moved to Duamyking's feet. Boom! Instantly, Duamyking's aura soared infinitely. The feeling he gave off was that of a peak medial-grade martial king. It was very horrifying. The leader's heart tightened. He felt the danger of death. He quickly said, "Attack! Chi! Chi!" Just as he finished speaking, the subordinates behind the 5 princes turned into ice sculptures in an instant. Duamyking pulled his palm back and clenched his fist. "Kassier! Kassier!" All the ice sculptures shattered. They were all dead. Bang! 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 The ice fell to the ground and shattered again. The corpses inside were torn apart continuously. The 5 scions were so frightened that they turned pale. Their right hands, which were holding their sabers, started to tremble. "Scram!" Duamyking said calmly. Killing 15 superior-grade martial saints in an instant, the strength that Duamyking displayed was too horrifying. Although the 5 of them were great perfection superior-grade martial saints, they had not comprehended state. They were only slightly stronger than ordinary martial saints. Compared to true geniuses, they were much weaker. When facing the current Duamyking, they had no chance of victory. However, they were not willing to leave just like that. The leader of the scions looked at the Guy Marquis with dissatisfaction in his heart. This was the true genius of the Guy Marquis' residence. He hoped that the Guy Marquis could put in a word for him. The Guy Marquis, Ing Xiao, wore golden battle armor and carried a 2-meter-long sword on his back. It was the sacred weapon, the sky-splitting sword. Behind him were 4 cultivators dressed similarly. When he saw this person's gaze, he turned his head slightly and avoided it, ignoring this person. With his last hope shattered, he could only give up. He packed up his weapon and left the place helplessly. Using the special secret technique of her martial spirit, She perfectly transferred the energy of the four people to Duamyking. This instantly raised her combat prowess to peak medial grade Martial King. Many people present had discerned the secret behind Duamyking's sudden increase in strength, but they had to admit that even if they knew the secret, they could only temporarily avoid facing Duamyking. In the face of absolute power, sometimes techniques were useless. Xiao Chun had a good experience with the Ice Empress aura. He is killing people to establish his might. When we find the profound ice flower, those people with ulterior motives will have to think twice. One of the Scion sighed softly. The value of the profound ice flower was no less than those secret treasures or high-ranked martial techniques. This was especially so for ice-attributed cultivators. It was very useful. At that time, it was hard to guarantee that there would be people who would take advantage of the chaos to target the profound ice flower. Furthermore, there was a high chance of that happening. Duamyking did not hesitate to offend the Scions of the Guy Marquis just because of a small excuse. Killing people was clearly a warning to the others. Xiao Chun even suspected that the Duanmu clan had purposely released these three martial kings to give Duamyking a chance to establish his might. Duamyking ignored the criticism of the crowd and said softly, "This profound ice flower is very important to my Duanmu clan. We have already waited for 100 years. Once we obtain the profound ice flower, I will immediately open the Firely sect remnant for everyone. Miss Duanmu, rest assured, we will not have any ulterior motives for the profound ice flower. Just lead the way. I'm a fire-attributed cultivator. The profound ice flower will only bring me harm. Miss Duanmu, there is no need to worry. If anyone tries to snatch Miss Duanmu's profound ice flower, they will be making things difficult for me, Sun Wei. I will help you kill them." Right. If anyone tries to snatch Miss Duanmu's profound ice flower, they will be our enemy. When everyone saw Duamyking's strength, they all echoed her words, expressing that they would not make a move to snatch the profound ice flower. When Xiao Chun saw the situation, he smiled faintly and did not say anything. Naturally, they would snatch what they should snatch. There was no point in saying anything. Duamyking said softly, "Many thanks for everyone's help. Come with me." After Duamyking spoke, he started to lead the crowd into the dark and strange forest. There were all sorts of tall trees in the forest. Their branches were luxuriant, and even two people would not be able to wrap their arms around them. There were thick leaves and some black grass on the ground. When the crowd stepped on them, they gave off a rustling sound. In this infamous ink forest, no one dared to be careless. They focused all of their attention and carefully observed their surroundings. Pusii. Suddenly, a black snake as thick as a bowl emerged from the ground among the crowd. Its body was covered in a black chi. The densely packed scales on its body flickered with a metallic luster. With a schwa sound, it bit off the head of a cultivator from behind. It was like a black bolt of lightning flashing by. Its speed was so fast that no one could react. Chi. There was no time to kill that black snake. In an instant, hundreds of similar black snakes emerged from the ground. Many cultivators were caught off guard and were bitten to death. There were also those whose arms were bitten. The poison immediately spread throughout their bodies, causing them to foam at the mouth. They were poisoned to death. Xiao Chun quickly dodged backward, dodging the attack of a black snake. He quickly drew the lunar shadow saber and chopped at it like a purple bolt of lightning. Dang! When the saber struck the black skin, it gave off a metallic sound. Unexpectedly, it only managed to cut off a few of the other party scales. What a strong defense! Even with 20% of my strength, I am still unable to injure the other party. Xiao Chun was astonished. The black snake felt pain, and its upper body soared into the air, heading for Xiao Chun. The black snake opened its mouth, revealing horrifying fangs that flickered with a cold light. Xiao Chun's expression did not change. He swung the lunar shadow saber again. Like before, he only used 20% of his strength. However, he accurately chopped at the place where the scales fell. In an instant, he chopped the other party in half. Uchi! The upper body of the black snake in the air had not died yet. It twisted its tongue and tried to bite Xiao Chen's face at lightning speed. Die! Xiao Chun shouted, and the lunar shadow saber turned into a purple bolt of lightning. A saber light appeared on the saber and shattered the snake's tongue. The snake turned into clumps of black mist and scattered. Even until now, the threat of the black snake had not been resolved. Xiao Chun sent out a palm strike to disperse the black mist, resolving the problem. The others were not as lucky as Xiao Chun. Several cultivators had clearly chopped the black snake in half. However, they did not expect the black snake to have such a strong life force. Their upper body could still attack, and they died under the snake's jaws. There were also many people who appeared very relaxed. The Guy Marquis, who carried a sword on his back, did not even draw his weapon. He punched the black snake into pieces. Countless stars flickered around Ji Changkong's body, turning into sharp sword chi. The sword chi was incomparably sharp and easily chopped the black snake in half. Every time a star flickered, a black snake would die. In an instant, Ji Changkong had killed more than 10 black snakes. Hua Yunfei held a scarlet sword in his hand. He revealed a sinister smile as the sword pierced through the black snake, giving off a ZZ sound. The black snake's body quickly shriveled up. It strangely absorbed all the black life force. After it absorbed the black life force, the red light on the sword became even more dazzling. The sword in Mu Yinchue's hand was extremely fast. In the blink of an eye, she had sent out an unknown number of killing strikes. The black snake had just leaped into the air when she chopped it into countless tiny pieces. The scion of the Shiha province's Yin clan, Yin China's big brother, sent out a huge black hand. It clenched tightly and pinched several black snakes together, preventing them from moving. Duan was even more relaxed. He did not even need to make a move. Those black snakes slithered around the 4 of them. Before they could get close, they were slowly frozen into ice sculptures. After a while, they turned into countless pieces of ice. Xiao Chun looked around for a while, but he did not find Chu Chaoyan. When he looked up, he saw that Chu Chaoyan had already leaped to the top of a large tree. Chu Chaoyan had a faint smile on his face as he looked at the people below. It was as though this matter had nothing to do with him. When the group finished killing all the black snakes, they counted the number of people. They discovered that the first wave of demonic beasts had killed more than 20 people. Including the people who died at Duan hands earlier, there were only 70 or 80 people left out of the original 100. This was a heavy loss. However, most of the people who died were the servants and subordinates of the science. The truly strong, outstanding talents did not even suffer any light injuries. The strength of the black snakes should be between medial grade rank 6 demonic beasts and peak grade demonic beasts. Aside from their large numbers and strong life force, they did not have any other trump cards. They could not truly threaten the group. After resting for a while, under Duan lead, the group continued on their way. Along the way, the demonic beasts they met became stronger. Aside from cultivators who comprehended states like Ji Changkong, the other scions also started to show signs of injury. The number of people also decreased by more than 60. Before they reached the fiery sect remnant, only half of the original number remained. Some people wanted to retreat. However, if they left the group and returned alone, that would be seeking death. The cruel nature of the path of cultivation was very real at this moment. If one was not strong enough or had a strong luck, they would become a stepping stone for others in the blink of an eye, coldly forgotten by others. Many living examples appeared before Xiao Chun. This made him even more determined to become stronger. He could not become a stepping stone for others. Suddenly, Duan stopped and pointed to a large tree in front. He said, "We have arrived. The profound ice flower is behind that tree. However, there's a rank 7 demonic beast guarding it. We have to kill it before we can pick the profound ice flower." A rank 7 demonic beast, everyone's expression changed. A scion said unhappily, "Duan, didn't you say that the profound ice flower is at the periphery of the ink forest? How can it be a rank 7 demonic beast? Are you messing with us?" Chapter 312. Duan said calmly, I did not lie to you. This is indeed the periphery of the ink forest. I also did not guarantee that there would not be any rank 7 demonic beasts in the periphery. Indeed, Duamyuking only said that the profound ice flower was at the periphery of the ink forest. He did not guarantee that there would not be any rank 7 demonic beasts at the periphery. There was no contradiction in Xiao Qin's words. No one could find a reason to refute him. The person who asked felt depressed, but there was nothing he could do. Ji Changkong said indifferently, Duamyuking, just tell us what kind of demonic beast it is and what its combat prowess is. If it is a regular rank 7 demonic beast, with so many of us, we should be able to defeat it. When Duamyuking heard this, he said, in that case, I'll be direct. The demonic beast guarding the profound ice flower is a peak rank 7 demonic beast, the Scarlet Flame Chief. Its strength is comparable to a medial grade martial king. The Duanmu clan has sent people here a few times, but they have not succeeded. Hua Yunfei frowned and said, since that is the case, did you make any preparations? Don't tell me that you are placing all your hopes on us. Duamyuking nodded and said, half of the people that the Duanmu clan sent out previously died on the way here. The remaining people had their combat prowess greatly reduced. Naturally, they're not a match for this Scarlet Flame Chief. However, it is different this time. Among us, there are at least 10 people who are not injured. Hence, I only need the help of these 10 people. The remaining people just need to help chase away the demonic beasts that are rushing over. Hua Yunfei said indifferently, you speak so confidently. However, you have not said what is your trump card to defeat the Scarlet Flame Chief. Duamyuking revealed an indifferent expression on her cold face. She said softly, trump card. I am a trump card of this operation. Do you still have any questions? What bold words. Everyone thought to themselves. However, when they thought about it carefully, it was indeed, as Duamyuking said, the Duanmu clan's special secret technique of combining their strength with their body could only be used by the princess. This was indeed a trump card. A strange light flashed in Hua Yunfei's eyes as he said, all right, I have no more questions. Now, which 10 people do you need help from? Everyone was curious when they heard that. Who were the 10 people that Duamyuking had mentioned who had not suffered any injuries and could still maintain their full combat strength? Duamyuking said softly, I hope that the people I choose will not reject my invitation. Only by killing this Scarlet Flame Chief will I open the doors to the fiery sect remnant. Otherwise, you will have made a wasted trip. After saying that, she began to stare at the crowd and slowly called out a name. Chu Chaoyun. You have no reason to reject my invitation. Chu Chaoyun's expression did not reveal the slightest hint of surprise. He smiled indifferently and said, of course not. Ji Changkong, Mu Yinxue, Hua Yunfei, the Gi Marquis, Ing Xiao, Yin Qixue, Shi Feng, Sun Wei, you have no reason to reject my invitation, right? The 7 people that were called out did not say anything, tacitly agreeing to Duamyuking's invitation. These 7 people were either the proud disciples of the 3 great sects or the scions of noble clans that possessed inherited martial spirits. The crowd was not too surprised. There were already 8 people, and only 2 remained. The crowd started to wonder who else had not been called out. Suddenly, Duamyuking's gaze stopped at an extremely hidden corner of the crowd. The crowd followed her gaze and discovered that the person Duamyuking was looking at was Du Hao. The Du clan to the south could be considered a clan with some power. However, it was far from the 2 inherited noble clans, the Ji clan and the Sun clan. Furthermore, along the way, they did not see anything outstanding about Du Hao. The crowd was very surprised at Duamyuking's choice of this person. Du Hao felt Duamyuking's gaze and smiled gently. Miss Duanmu, don't tell me you think that I am one of the 10 people? Duamyuking's gaze was like a pillar, as though she could see through the other party's disguise. She countered with a question, what do you think? Du Hao shook his head slightly. He was not willing to stand out at this moment. However, if he rejected, he would easily become the target of everyone. The Scarlet Flame Chief had to be killed. Otherwise, the crowd would not be able to enter the fiery sect remnant. If he was unwilling, Duamyuking would use it as an excuse to not take action. The people that were called out earlier would definitely be unwilling as well. However, after weighing the pros and cons, they could only agree. Since Miss Duanmu thinks highly of me, I will reluctantly do it. Thinking of this, Duhao could only agree to the other party's decision. There was still one person missing from the 10. The crowd followed Duan Yuking's gaze again. Their gazes stopped at Xiao Chun, who was standing in a corner. Xiao Chen was not surprised at this. Without waiting for Duan Yuking to say anything, he walked out. The others were not surprised at Xiao Chen's selection. After all, even Sun Wei could be selected. There was no need to mention Xiao Chun, who could easily defeat Sun Wei. When Duan Yuking saw that the 10 people agreed, he said to the remaining 50, split into groups of 5 and spread out for a kilometer. Just don't let any demonic beasts get close to us. Duan Yuking made such arrangements to prevent these people from taking advantage of the chaos to snatch the profound ice flower. They had to obtain the profound ice flower no matter what. Although the 50 people were unwilling, dealing with other demonic beasts was better than dealing with a rank 7 demonic beast. Furthermore, the Firely Sect remnant had not been opened yet. They could only listen to Duan Yuking's arrangements for now. After a while, after the 50 people left, Duan Yuking said, "There is a mound behind that tree. The profound ice flower grows there." The Scarlet Flame Chief never left the profound ice flower. Xiao Chen looked in the direction Xiao Chen pointed. That tree was about a kilometer away from the group. The trunk would require 5 people to encircle it. The tree was several hundred meters tall. Its branches were lush, and its roots were intertwined. It was tall and straight, blocking the group's vision. Let me see what kind of demonic beast this Scarlet Flame Chief is. Hua Yunfei shouted ferociously. The scarlet sword in his hand suddenly gave off a blazing scarlet light. So, a sharp and surging scarlet sword chi flew at the tree quickly. The scarlet sword chi was like a sharp saber, easily chopping the tree in half. Rumble! The huge trunk of the tree landed heavily on the ground. The group's vision immediately widened. They finally saw the Scarlet Flame Chief. It looked very similar to the apes on Earth. It stood upright on the ground and was 8 meters tall. Its shoulders were broad and its body was strong. The muscles on its chest looked like small mountains of meat. Its entire body was covered in black fur. A deep scarlet flame burned in its eyes. The strangest thing was that it carried a 2-meter-long, palm-wide sword on its shoulder. On a mound behind the Scarlet Flame Chief, there was a crystalline, pure white flower blooming strangely. That should be the profound ice flower. The Scarlet Sword Chi did not slow down as it flew forward quickly. When the Scarlet Flame Chief saw the sword Chi flying at it, its lips curled up into a sinister and horrifying smile. The Scarlet Flame Chief used its left hand to slap the sword Chi flying at it. With a bang, this incredibly sharp sword Chi immediately vanished. It turned into strands of scarlet light in the wind and returned to nothingness. Hua Yunfei's expression changed slightly. He said in astonishment, "It is indeed powerful. It managed to smack away my blood fiend sword Chi with one slap. I wonder what kind of might it has when it uses its full power." "Attack!" Duan Yuking shouted and immediately led the 4 Duanmu clan cultivators forward. Everyone followed after. To Xiao Chun and the others, a distance of 1,000 meters only took a few breaths of time. Soon, they arrived before the Scarlet Flame Chief. When they got close, the 10 of them could clearly feel the overwhelming aura of the Scarlet Flame Chief surging towards them. However, this aura was far inferior to the Ice Empress. Although everyone felt some pressure, it did not affect their combat prowess. Secret technique, ice condensation. Duan Yuking snorted coldly. The black hair on her head suddenly turned ice-cold white. That cold and exquisite face completely lost all human emotions. It looked cold and emotionless. Everywhere her gaze passed, even the air was covered in frost. The 4 girls behind her quickly transferred their essence to Duan Yuking. In an instant, Duan Yuking's aura suppressed the Scarlet Flame Chief's aura. Frost Rage. From the start, Duan Yuking did not hide his strength. Suddenly, a boundless cold wind blew under the Scarlet Flame Chief's feet. As the cold wind blew, the temperature dropped rapidly. After a while, a visible white cold chi appeared in the wind. The cold chi spun around violently, creating a huge whirlpool. The Scarlet Flame Chief's huge body struggled to move in the whirlpool, trying to break free. However, the surrounding temperature was too low. Furthermore, the intense cold wind blew. It could not break free from the center of the whirlpool. So, Duan Muqing's expression turned grave. She clenched her fist, and a boundless cold chi immediately gathered. It was like a block of ice was buried in the Scarlet Flame Chief's body, with a ca sound. After a while, the surface of the Scarlet Flame Chief was covered in ice, turning it into a huge ice sculpture. The Scarlet Flame Chief was instantly frozen by Duamyuking. This was somewhat surprising. However, no one thought that the Scarlet Flame Chief would die so easily. The Gi Marquis, Ing Xiao, took out the sky-splitting sword from his back and leaped into the air. The sky-splitting sword hacked down at the Scarlet Flame Chief's head. Everywhere the sky-splitting sword passed, ripples appeared in the air. The Gi Marquis's figure suddenly became blurry in everyone's vision. It was like a reflection in the water, swaying back and forth leisurely. The sky-splitting sword is indeed a complete holy weapon. Xiao Chun was astonished. He had seen the same scene in Mu Chengshua's Beauty Under the Moon. Naturally, he knew what was happening. Xiao Chun used the Daos contained in the holy weapon to change the laws of heaven and earth in the instant he made his move. This confused one's sense of space, causing them to lose their five senses. One might think that he was far away, but he was actually right in front of them. One might think that he was right in front of them, but when they swung their sabers, they would never be able to hit him. Kassier. Strands of scarlet earth fire slowly rose from the Scarlet Flame Chief's feet. The ice on the Scarlet Flame Chief's body quickly melted. In the blink of an eye, it recovered its mobility. Gua. The Scarlet Flame Chief laughed strangely. It swung the huge sword that it carried. Unexpectedly, there were blurry ripples in the sky. Chapter 3:13. The Scarlet Flame Chief was actually carrying a holy weapon on its shoulder. Everyone could not help but be astonished. A demonic beast carrying a huge weapon was already very strange. Furthermore, this huge weapon was actually a holy weapon. However, their eyes were immediately filled with desire. Sun Wei smiled coldly and said, "I want this holy weapon. No one is to snatch it from me." Sun Wei drew his sword, and a setting sun appeared behind him. It shone on the sword, giving off a dazzling radiance. This was the Sun Clan's inherited martial spirit, Lonely Waning Moon. "Kill!" Sun Wei shouted. He did not wait for the results of the fight between the Scarlet Flame Chief and the Gi Marquis to come out. He leaped into the air and charged forward. When the laws of the world formed by the two holy weapons clashed, the entire space started to tremble at a visible rate. Everyone could feel a strange energy being transmitted over. When this feeling disappeared, Mu Ran suddenly realized that his body had unknowingly moved a few hundred meters to the side. His formation was completely disrupted. Sun Wei, who was in the air, had not reacted in time. The sword that he was sending at the Scarlet Flame Chief had actually chopped at Chu Chaoyan. Fortunately, Chu Chaoyan dodged in advance. Otherwise, if Chu Chaoyan was caught off guard and used his inherited martial spirit, it would not be good for him. The clash of the holy weapons actually caused the laws of space to become chaotic. Fortunately, the area affected was not large. If a real sage were to make a move, everyone present might have been transported to other places, and there was no telling if they would still be alive. Kung Chong. It was like the Gi Marquis' sky-splitting sword and the Scarlet Flame Chief's huge weapon finally clashed. There was a loud explosion, and the Gi Marquis was knocked back like a cannonball. Bang! 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 The Gi Marquis crashed into many trees. He was knocked back more than 500 meters before he landed heavily on the ground. The Scarlet Flame Chief's tall and sturdy body moved back continuously. It did not take a single step back. A huge force was transmitted to the ground, causing it to tremble continuously. The Scarlet Flame Chief retreated all the way to the mound before it slowly came to a stop. Duamyuking said, don't clash head-on with him. The Scarlet Flame Chief is a demonic beast known for its strength. Even a superior-grade martial king would find it hard to endure its true strength. When everyone heard this, they were all deeply shocked at the Guy Marquis's strength. The other party was able to knock the Scarlet Flame Chief back by 100 meters. How strong was he? Hu Chi. The Scarlet Flame Chief steadied itself and stomped on the ground, causing the entire forest to shake. Its body flew through the air and slashed at Mu Yinxue with lightning speed. It seemed that this Scarlet Flame Chief's eyesight and intelligence were extremely shocking. It could tell that Duamuking was difficult to deal with, so it did not attack her first. Instead, it chose to attack the weaker Mu Yinxue, preparing to take them down one by one. Mu Yinxue's expression did not change at all. She leaped into the air and unsheathed her sword. Her speed was even faster than the Scarlet Flame Chief's. In the blink of an eye, she had already slashed out more than 100 times. Clang, clang, clang. When the sword struck the Scarlet Flame Chief's body, a metallic sound rang out. Mu Yinxue's attack was actually unable to break through its defenses. Dragon Seizing Hand. When the Shiha Province's Yin clan scion, Yin Qixue, saw the situation, he shouted and executed the Yin clan's inherited martial technique. A huge black hand appeared out of nowhere. Yin Qixue clenched his fist, and the huge black hand grabbed the Scarlet Flame Chief's huge body tightly, preventing it from moving. Mu Yinxue grasped this opportunity, and her sword trembled. A light exploded out and quickly pierced towards the Scarlet Flame Chief's right eye. Gua gua! The Scarlet Flame Chief laughed strangely. Its ugly face revealed an incomparably sinister smile. Its scarlet eyes suddenly spat out two berserk flames. The ferocious flames instantly burned the surrounding air, making it difficult for people to breathe. Mu Yinxue was caught off guard. Clearly, she did not expect the Scarlet Flame Chief to have such a move. Her expression suddenly changed, and she quickly retreated. However, the two flames quickly merged together. Their speed strangely increased, immediately surpassing Mu Yinxue's speed. Ice! At the critical moment, Duamuking shouted and arrived before Mu Yinxue in a flash. His white hair fluttered in the air, and his robes fluttered continuously. There was a trace of arrogance on Mu Yinxue's cold and frosty face. Unexpectedly, there was a trace of the elegance of the Ice Empress. Mu Yinxue pushed her right hand forward, and a boundless cold wind blew. The cold wind rustled, and the temperature plummeted. The flames of the Scarlet Flame Chief shot out were instantly frozen. Mu Yinxue closed his fingers, and the ice immediately fell to the ground. Many thanks. Mu Yinxue thanked Xiao Chun and took advantage of this opportunity to quickly move away and land on the ground. The Scarlet Flame Chief shouted ferociously. Its aura spread out in all directions, causing the surrounding leaves to fall. A strong wind blew, and the leaves danced in the wind. Bang! The black veins on the Scarlet Flame Chief's body bulged as it tried to push away the black hand. Yin Qixue's expression turned grave as he held on bitterly. However, after Yin Qixue shouted, the Scarlet Flame Chief's bones crackled continuously. Its body actually grew at a horrifying rate. It shook its arms and pushed away the black hand. Yin Qixue immediately vomited a mouthful of blood. His complexion was frighteningly pale. He stuffed a medicinal pill into his mouth and quickly retreated. Gua gua! After the Scarlet Flame Chief struggled free, it was like a wild horse that had broken free of its reins. It laughed strangely and moved its legs quickly on the ground. With every step it took, the ground trembled slightly. Earlier, the Scarlet Flame Chief was able to send the Guy Marquis flying with one strike. Now that its strength was berserk, no one would be able to block an attack from it. With a thought, Duamuking executed the State of Ice. Suddenly, snowflakes drifted down from the sky. With a thought, ice walls rose from the ground, blocking the Scarlet Flame Chief. This gave everyone time to attack. Bang! 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 The Scarlet Flame Chief's huge body was like a small mountain. Thick ice walls were able to block Xiao Chen's and Sun Wei's attacks at the same time. Now, when the Scarlet Flame Chief charged in, the ice walls were like breaking dead branches, breaking into pieces. The snowflakes drifted down even more intensely. The willow catkin snowflakes had already become the size of goose feathers. A thick layer of snow covered the ground of the mountain forest. It was like winter had arrived. Duamyuking finally brought out his state of ice to its limits. Boundless wind and snow gathered. An even sharper ice wall than before soared into the sky. The Scarlet Flame Chief's unstoppable charge was finally blocked. Its huge body crashed into the tall ice wall and bounced back with a bang. However, before everyone could rejoice, the instant the Scarlet Flame Chief retreated, it swung its sword and broke the ice wall in half. However, Duamyuking had achieved his goal. He had successfully delayed the Scarlet Flame Chief. Astral swordplay, eternal light. Ji Changkong shouted, and the entire mountain forest suddenly turned pitch black. Countless stars appeared above everyone's heads. In the distant starry sky, Ji Changkong's life star suddenly lit up. A resplendent light descended, falling into the 9 heavens. The instant the light landed, Ji Changkong held his sword in his right hand and swung it. Instantly, a sword light appeared. The moment the sword light appeared, the starlight in the sky immediately dimmed. Under the illumination of the eternal light, nothing that gave off light dared to overtake its sharpness or break its radiance. The moment the sword light appeared, the starlight in the sky immediately dimmed. Under the illumination of the eternal light, nothing that gave off light dared to break its radiance. When the sword was drawn, the light illuminated the 9 heavens. The starlight dimmed. Only the light of this sword could be seen. This was the Ji clan's inherited sword technique, astral swordplay. After a year, Xiao Chun saw Ji Changkong execute this move again. It was just as breathtaking as before. This time, Xiao Chun saw something even more profound. The senior of the Ji clan who created this sword technique could only be said to be an absolute genius. Its aura was so great that it encompassed the entire universe. From Xiao Chen's point of view, although the might of this sword technique was startling, it was definitely not complete. The power of the heavens should be far more than this. Boom! The sword light was like a pillar. While Xiao Chen was thinking, it struck the Scarlet Flame Chief's chest with a bang. A horrifying wound immediately appeared on the Scarlet Flame Chief's chest. Black blood flowed out like a fountain. Everyone rejoiced in their hearts. They finally managed to injure the Scarlet Flame Chief for the first time. They saw hope for victory. Ice break. Duamyuking took advantage of the opportunity and shouted. The snow in the air gathered continuously. After a while, it formed a huge ice bird. The ice bird spread its wings and let out a cry. It looked very lifelike as it rushed at the Scarlet Flame Chief, carrying a sharp, cold wind. Under the baptism of the eternal light, the Scarlet Flame Chief was significantly injured. Its originally fast, moving body started to slow down. Xiao Chen's gaze was like a pillar. When he looked carefully, he discovered that this was not the case. It was not Ji Changkong's sword light that caused the Scarlet Flame Chief's movements to turn stiff. Instead, it was caused by Duamyuking's state of ice. At the start, the effect was not big. However, as time went by, especially after the Scarlet Flame Chief was injured, the effect became very obvious. Xiao Chen looked around and saw the 4 girls following behind Duamyuking. At this moment, they were all standing in a corner far away. Ice appeared under their feet. Combined with some kind of mysterious secret technique, energy was continuously transmitted to Duamyuking's body. This caused the strength of her state of ice to increase continuously, reaching a horrifying level. Furthermore, Duamyuking's control over this state had reached a level where she could control it as she pleased. She placed all the pressure on the Scarlet Flame Chief. The others did not feel the pressure from her state at all. If it were not for Xiao Chen's deep comprehension of states, he would not have been able to see the mysteries behind it. The Scarlet Flame Chief was very intelligent. It quickly felt the mysteries behind it. It roared ferociously, and a fierce scarlet flame started burning in its eyes. Boom! The huge sword in its hand lit up with a blazing flame. The flame was like a pillar with strands of black flames lingering around it. The flames of the Scarlet Flame Chief actually showed signs of turning into a demonic flame. The Scarlet Flame Chief did its best to leap forward and held the sword with both hands. The intense flames flew out and smashed the huge ice bird into countless pieces of ice. The instant the Scarlet Flame Chief shattered the ice bird, it stabbed the sword into the ground. Instantly, a scarlet flame with black smoke lingering around it appeared 10 meters around it. Xiao Chun stood in the distance and looked at this scene. He had a pensive look in his eyes as he muttered to himself. The flames blocked Duanmuking's state. No, not blocked. They burned it alive. Chapter 314. Unexpectedly, states could be broken in such a way. This was an eye-opener for Xiao Chun. It looked like if he met cultivators with strong states in the future, he could use this method as a reference. Gua Gua, the Scarlet Flame Chief, laughed strangely. It had completely recovered its mobility. Without the suppression of the state, the wound on its chest started to heal quickly. Rise! The Scarlet Flame Chief pulled out its sword and stomped on the ground. Its speed instantly reached the speed of sound. It instantly broke through the range of Duanmuking's state. The flames that soared up formed a flaming tail and gathered back on the sword. The Scarlet Flame Chief actually hacked down at Du Hao, who had not made a move yet. This sword carried a surging heat wave. The Scarlet Flame Chief held the sword with both hands. Its strength was even more horrifying than before. Even an inferior grade martial king would be turned into a pile of mush if struck by this sword. It looks like this Scarlet Flame Chief knows how to pick a pushover. However, is Du Hao really a pushover? Du Hao, who was dressed in black and did not carry any weapons, looked at the Scarlet Flame Chief charging at him ferociously, moving faster than the speed of sound. Du Hao's expression turned grave, but he did not panic. Furthermore, he had no intention of retreating. If he retreated now, even if he dodged the attack, he would still be injured by the shockwave. With the strength of the Scarlet Flame Chief, even if it was just the shockwave, Du Hao would be significantly injured. Uchi, just as the huge sword was about to land, Du Hao's left foot bounced off the ground. He leaped up gently and kicked the Scarlet Flame Chief's chest with his right foot. However, the force of this kick did not injure the Scarlet Flame Chief at all. It did not even feel any resistance. Its huge body continued to fly forward quickly. However, the strange thing was that Du Hao's kick seemed to have some sort of adhesive force. It stuck to the Scarlet Flame Chief's chest. After that, he pushed off gently and quickly leaped over its head, arriving behind the Scarlet Flame Chief. Without waiting for his body to land on the ground, Du Hao let out an explosive shout. His body quickly flipped, and he kicked the Scarlet Flame Chief's back, creating a thunderous explosion in the air. The strength of this kick was so great that it caused the air to tremble. Countless leaves in the forest fell one after another and were immediately crushed into countless pieces. Everything happened in the blink of an eye. From the moment Du Hao jumped, turned around, and kicked, it was only the blink of an eye. However, his movements were extremely coherent. He leaped up and stuck to his opponent's chest, leaped over, and did a 180-degree horizontal kick in the air. It was as smooth as flowing water, completely natural and without the slightest flaw. The Scarlet Flame Chief, who was traveling at the speed of sound, did not expect such a sharp kick to its back. Xiao Qin's rapidly flying body could not stop at all. His center of gravity immediately became unstable, and his body shot forward like a cannonball. Bang! He hit the ground head first, creating a huge crater with a loud bang. Dust and dirt filled the air, and countless black clouds of dust immediately rose into the air. Du Hao's body landed firmly on ground. His expression was calm, as if he had just done something insignificant. However, everyone was shocked in their hearts. The Scarlet Flame Chief, which even Duanmuking could not control with his extreme state, was actually easily toyed with in the palm of his hand. This person is not simple, Xiao Chun thought to himself. This person looks ordinary, but he is not simple. Although Xiao Chun looked ordinary, he brought out his combat techniques to the extreme. He borrowed force to fight force, moving 500 kilograms with a little force. Boom! The Scarlet Flame Chief was thoroughly enraged. It leaped out of the crater and brandished its huge sword, hacking at Du Hao. Every time the Scarlet Flame Chief swung its sword, a ripple appeared in space. The Tao of the holy weapon was activated once again. When the people who had not made a move saw this scene, their eyes lit up. This was a holy weapon that could be used frequently. It was almost certain that this holy weapon was not severely damaged. The Tao of it was definitely very complete. It could be used so many times in the hands of a demonic beast. If it was used by them, it would be even more powerful. The change in the natural laws made Du Hao's expression change. The Scarlet Flame Chief's figure moved left and right, far and near. He could not figure out at all, and danger surrounded him. Furthermore, Du Hao discovered that his movement technique was restricted as well. He clearly felt that he had advanced 10 meters, but in reality, he had only advanced 5 meters. Furthermore, his direction was very wrong. This was the might of a holy weapon. It contained the great Tao. It used the power of the sages to change the natural laws, disrupting the natural laws. In a battle, it would truly throw people into confusion. Du Hao's expression changed completely. He knew that if this continued, he would be struck sooner or later. With his defense, he would not have any chance of surviving the Scarlet Flame Chief's attack. Retreat. Taking advantage of the sword chopping down, Du Hao's expression turned grave. He smashed his palm against the tip of the sword. Using the huge force from the tip of the sword, he quickly moved back. In an instant, he moved 500 meters. After that, he landed firmly on the ground. His complexion was somewhat pale, and blood leaked out from the corner of his mouth. There was too little time. In the end, the force contained in the tip of the sword was not completely resolved. This Scarlet Flame Chief will not be able to last much longer. It has not obtained the recognition of the holy weapon. It recklessly used the natural laws. It cannot endure the formless pressure of the heavenly Taos. The Guy Marquis, who also possessed a holy weapon, spoke with a pale complexion. Earlier, he had forcefully clashed with the Scarlet Flame Chief. Even now, he had not recovered from his internal injuries. When everyone heard this, they looked carefully. It was indeed as he said. The Scarlet Flame Chief's body, which had previously swelled up, had become thinner at some point in time. Furthermore, its aura was much weaker than before. The sword wound that Ji Changkong left on its chest did not recover. Instead, it became more intense. The blood from the wound became even more horrifying. Blood kills the world, fresh clothes, and furious horses. Setting sun and lonely soul, 100 battles, startling deities, earth-shattering and heaven-shaking, finger-piercing the heavens. Hua Yunfei, Shi Feng, and Sun Wei, who had not made a move yet, finally made their move after storing up energy for a long time. They executed the peak attacks of the inherited martial techniques without holding anything back. Instantly, all sorts of lights flickered in the forest, and a strong wind blew. The energies of the 3 inherited martial techniques merged together and surged in the air. Many trees were chopped in half at the waist, turning into countless pieces. Facing the 3 horrifying attacks, the Scarlet Flame Chief revealed a look of fear on its ugly face. It looked at the profound ice flower on the mound, its eyes filled with dissatisfaction. The huge sword swung up and changed the natural laws again, trying to block the attacks of the 3. However, this time, when it was only swung its sword halfway, the huge sword in its hand went out of control and flew out. The natural laws shattered, and the Scarlet Flame Chief suffered a huge backlash. It vomited large mouthfuls of blood and became very weak. Bang! 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 There were 3 loud sounds as the attacks of the 3 landed on the Scarlet Flame Chief. The incredibly weak Scarlet Flame Chief could not withstand the attacks of the 3 inherited martial techniques. The Scarlet Flame Chief's body was badly mutilated. Black fiendish chi flowed out continuously. Its life force quickly faded. I, Hua Yunfei, want this holy weapon. Scram. The holy weapon is mine, Sun Wei's. Only I, Shi Feng, am qualified to obtain the holy weapon. Seeing the holy weapon fly out, after the 3 made their moves, They no longer cared about the severely injured Scarlet Flame Chief. They immediately started a fight over the holy weapon, not giving way to each other. It had to be said that this scene was very ironic. The Gi Marquis and Yin Qixue were injured. Ji Changkong and Mu Yinxue had exhausted a lot of essence. Duan Yiking's attention was completely focused on the profound ice flower. The only ones who could continue fighting for the holy weapon were Xiao Chun and Chu Chaoyan, who had not made a move yet. However, the gazes of the two of them were not on the holy weapon. Instead, they were on the severely injured Scarlet Flame Chief on the ground. The Scarlet Flame Chief was a demonic beast that had started to comprehend demonic fire. Its demonic core was worth at least 1,000 medial grade spirit stones. The holy weapon was too eye-catching. Even if they managed to snatch it, they might not be able to leave safely. However, the demonic core was different. It did not have an obvious target. Furthermore, its effects were very direct. It was unlike a holy weapon. Even if one obtained it, one would need a long time to comprehend the Tao within. Otherwise, if one recklessly used the power of a holy weapon, the Scarlet Flame Chief was a good example. How could the laws of heaven and earth change so easily? The two of them exchanged glances. Their gazes were like swords clashing in the air. Their auras did not give way. They were determined to obtain the Scarlet Flame Chief's demonic core. Uchi. Suddenly, Chu Chaoyun made his move. He sent out 2 strands of sharp sword chi from his fingers. In an instant, he dug out the demonic core in the Scarlet Flame Chief's chest. The Scarlet Flame Chief cried out in pain. However, it was to no avail. It did not have any ability to resist. After the demonic core left its body, the scarlet flames burning in its eyes were completely extinguished. The purple demonic core burned with scarlet flames as it quickly flew out of the Scarlet Flame Chief's body. Chu Chaoyan stretched out his hand, and a suction force immediately appeared, sucking the demonic core into his hand. However, Xiao Chun did not give him this opportunity. He started circulating the blue dragon cloud's soaring art. His speed immediately reached its peak, and he caught up to the demonic core that continued to fly. Bang! Just as Xiao Chun caught the demonic core, Chu Chaoyan arrived. He used his palm as a saber and chopped down on Xiao Chun's wrist. The purple demonic core immediately left his hand and flew high into the air. Bang! 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 The two of them immediately leaped into the air and exchanged moves continuously. Punches and palms flew back and forth. Energy flew everywhere. In an instant, they exchanged dozens of moves. The intense wind blew the purple demonic core higher and higher. Boom! Suddenly, a golden light flashed in Chu Chaoyan's eyes. He immediately shot out a strand of golden flames at Xiao Chen's face. Xiao Chen quickly used the purple thunder true fire to resist. Bang! The heavenly fire scattered the purple flames. However, the golden flames continued flying towards Xiao Chun. Helpless, Xiao Chun could only land and quickly dodge. Sorry, this demonic core belongs to me. Chu Chaoyan smiled gently and leaped into the air again. It looked like he was about to grab the demonic core. After Xiao Chun landed, he did not panic. He instantly activated the Windwalk shoes, and his speed reached the speed of sound. Just as Chu Chaoyan was about to succeed, Xiao Chun turned into a beam of purple light and flashed by. Chu Chaoyan turned into a beam of purple light and flashed in front of Chu Chaoyan. When the purple light vanished, Chu Chaoyan clenched his fist but found nothing. Without any hesitation, Xiao Chun quickly tossed the burning demonic core into the universe ring. He did not give Chu Chaoyan any more chances. Chapter 315. Dong! 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 Urgent footsteps came from all directions. The people in the periphery had sensed that the Scarlet Flame Chief's aura had disappeared and were rushing over. After Chu Chaoyan landed, he saw the crowd rushing over. A strange look flashed in his eyes. Finally, he shook his head and gave up on the fight for the demonic core. This was not the time to fight yet. The truly good things had not appeared in the Firely sect. If both sides were injured, it would only benefit the others. It was not worth it for a demonic core containing an inferior grade demonic flame. Hua Yunfei split apart Sun Wei and Sure Feng with his sword. Then he grasped the huge sword firmly and laughed. This holy weapon is mine. Sun Wei and Sure Feng combined were not a match for Hua Yunfei, who had comprehended the ancient blood soul. In the end, he was more skilled and managed to snatch the holy weapon. Kassier. Kassier. However, just as he finished speaking, the huge sword began to shatter into pieces. After a while, only the hilt was left of the huge sword, which was still as good as before. Hua Yunfei was completely stunned. He said in disbelief, "How can it be like this?" Sun Wei and Sure Feng were both stunned as well. Then they laughed loudly. "Hua Yunfei, it looks like you are not fated to obtain a holy weapon." Ji Changkong said indifferently, "This holy weapon was not maintained properly and was used carelessly. Furthermore, it has been around for too long. It is normal for it to be damaged." Hua Yunfei's face flushed red. He was extremely angry. He had not expected that the holy weapon that he had obtained after so much difficulty would end up in vain. This was the same situation as in the ancient remnant. He had just snatched the sky-splitting sword, but the holy weapon automatically recognized him as its master. The Guy Marquis obtained it for nothing. "Trash!" Hua Yunfei shouted angrily and threw the sword hilt to the ground. The sword hilt rolled to Xiao Chen's feet. Xiao Chen glanced at it and saw that the sword hilt had cracked. There seemed to be something in it. He glanced at Hua Yunfei and saw that he had given up on the sword hilt, so he picked it up. Looking at the crowd that had gathered around him, Zhang Xian did not immediately open the sword hilt. Instead, he quietly kept it in his bosom. Has the Scarlet Flame Chief been killed? Did Duanyuking get the mysterious ice flower? When the 50 people guarding the perimeter arrived, they immediately asked. The people present pointed to the Scarlet Flame Chief's corpse on the ground. The result was obvious. Thud, thud, thud. 4 ice walls suddenly rose up from the mound. The ice walls quickly connected together to form a square-shaped ice palace, enveloping Duanyuking's group of 5 tightly within it. Duanyuking is really cautious, Xiao Chun thought to himself. Things have already come to this point, yet he is still worried. Everyone's gazes immediately gathered over. Someone said, "I heard that the mysterious ice flower can only be completely plucked using a very special method. I wonder if Duanyuking has grasped this method?" Another person smiled and said, "What special method?" "As long as he cultivates the mysterious ice incantation to the 10th layer, he will be able to easily pluck the mysterious ice chi transformation stage. This is not a secret. It is just an inherited martial technique. Others cannot practice it. The mysterious ice incantation is a peak earth-ranked cultivation technique. Could it be that Duanyuking has already cultivated it to the 10th layer? That is too horrifying. It should be true. Ever since she was defeated by Xiao Chun in Savage Forest, she has entered into a state of bitter cultivation. Her cultivation has increased at a terrifying rate. I wonder where that Xiao Chun is now. Duanyuking swore that if she does not defeat him, she will not inherit the position of the Duanmu clan's princess. After waiting for a long time, everyone started to feel bored. They started to chat about the Duanmu clan. As they chatted, the topic actually shifted to Xiao Chun. Xiao Chun was speechless. He thought back to the day when he snatched away Duanyuking's space on the heaven-soaring platform. Duanyuking said to him, "Even if some things are yours, even if you take them away, you will spit them out." It looks like I have really become her heart demon. Xiao Chun smiled bitterly in his heart. Xiao Chun was her heart demon. Ji Changkong, the Guy Marquis, Hua Yunfei, and the others were his heart demons as well. A large part of the reason why Xiao Chun accepted this mission was because he wanted to see for himself how strong these people were. After all, it was difficult to gain a concrete understanding just by relying on Fatso's side of the story. It was better to see for himself before he could truly understand. If he did not truly defeat these people, Xiao Chun would not have any thoughts of leaving the Great Qi Nation. This would leave an eternal regret in his heart, preventing him from cultivating his mental state to consummation in the future. Look, Duanyuking is coming out. Quickly get her to open the fiery sex remnant. someone with sharp eyes quickly said. They saw the squarish ice house slowly melting. Duamyking and the others quickly walked out. The profound ice flower on the mound had completely disappeared. Hua Yunfei said sullenly, Duamyking, you have already obtained the profound ice flower. You can open the fiery sex remnant now, right? Seeing everyone's anxious gazes, Duamyking said calmly, As you wish. Xiaochen opened his hand, and a boundless frost covered the mound. The specks of frost were like stars as they entered the mound. After a while, it turned into an ice mound. Boom! Duamyking clenched his fist tightly, and the ice mound immediately exploded with a bang. Countless ice shards scattered and fell to the ground. The original mound disappeared, and a dark hole appeared. The hole was so deep that the bottom could not be seen. A cold wind blew out from it. This is the entrance to the fiery sex remnant. I have already obtained the profound ice flower. According to the agreement, I cannot enter the remnant, so I will take my leave first. After Duamyking spoke, he immediately turned and left. Immediately, there were people who could not endure it any longer. They rushed towards the entrance of the cave. However, just as they reached the entrance, someone suddenly shouted, Duanmu Qing, you cannot leave. If you leave, the profound ice palace will follow. Do you want us to cross the Ink Mountain Range? Indeed, if Duamyking left, the profound ice palace would definitely follow. Could it be that after they left, they would have to return through the core region of the Ink Forest? Although it was much less dangerous to travel on the ground than in the air, there was still the risk of death for the fatigued group of people who had just left the Ink Forest. Nothing could compare to the safety of riding the Duanmu clan's profound ice palace. There was no need to worry at all. Going to the profound ice palace meant that they would be safe. Everyone reacted and quickly agreed. Right, Duamyking, you cannot leave. Wait for us outside. You can leave only after we come out. Duamyking raised his eyebrows and looked coldly at the person who spoke. Since when can you order me around? I have already fulfilled my agreement. The fiery sex remnant is underground. Everything now has nothing to do with the Duanmu clan. Ji Changkong looked at the bottomless hole before looking at Duamyking. He said, How about this? Duamyking, we do not know if this fiery sex remnant is real or fake. How about you come with us? Given this, it was equivalent to the agreement that Duamyking had made before he came to not enter the fiery sex remnant. However, Xiao Chun could not blame Duanmu Qing for this. Duanmu Qing did not break her promise. She only used a trick that was not easy to see through. Xiao Chun smiled coldly to himself. It looks like it is, as Hua Yunfei said. Duamyking might have taken advantage of everyone's actions this time. However, this also proved that the fiery sex profound ice palace was real. There was no need to waste time here. The Duanmu clan's profound ice palace was not very attractive to Xiao Chun. It would not be a problem for him to walk out of the Ink Mountain Range with his own strength. Even if he wasted some time, he would not mind it too much. He could just treat it as experiential training. Suddenly, Xiao Chen's gaze fell on Chu Chaoyan. He discovered that Chu Chaoyan had already reached the edge of the hole. Xiao Chen no longer hesitated and silently followed. Hu Qi. While everyone was in a stalemate, Chu Chaoyan and Xiao Chun suddenly jumped into the hole. They were the first to enter the fiery sect remnant. Who are these two people? Why are they so fast? Let's go quickly. Otherwise, all the good things will be snatched away by them. Damn it, don't bother so much. We should hurry up. Fortuitous encounters do not wait for anyone. Chu Chaoyan and Xiao Chen's actions immediately broke the stalemate. Many people no longer cared about how to leave. They all rushed to jump in. Only a few of the calmer people did not jump in rashly. Instead, they waited for Duamyking's reaction. Not to mention the problem of retreating, going down without any understanding of the fiery sect remnant was not a wise move. Since Duamyking was able to discover the fiery sect remnant, he definitely had a better understanding of the fiery sect remnant than the others. Furthermore, he had the profound ice palace to back him up. There was no need to worry about breaking through the ink sect remnant. Clearly, following Duamyking was the wisest decision at this point. Although they were unwilling, They had no other choice. Duemuking muttered to himself for a while before saying, "It does not matter. I can accompany everyone to verify the authenticity of the fiery sect remnant." Xiao Qin's attitude indirectly hinted that everyone would have a chance to leave with the profound ice palace. Sometimes, there was no need to be so direct. It was fine as long as everyone understood. The few of them each harbored their own thoughts. Under Duanmuking's lead, they slowly jumped into the deep hole. Wang, Xiao Chun, and Chu Chaoyan landed on the ground at the same time. The two of them exchanged glances and ignored each other, focusing their attention on the scene before them. Chapter 316. In front of the two was a simple bronze door. Two oil lamps hung on both sides of the door. Purple flames flickered in the oil lamps, slightly illuminating the surroundings. Chu Chaoyan smiled faintly and said, "Interesting, the oil lamps are actually still lit." A huge three-legged cauldron was carved on the door. There were dragons and phoenixes carved on the cauldron. There were 4 soaring white clouds above the cauldron. This was the first time Xiao Chan had seen white flames, so he felt it was strange. The door was tightly shut, giving off a strong sense of history. An ancient aura assaulted their faces. Dong, dong, dong. The sound of people landing resounded. The other scions and cultivators landed one after another. Then, they immediately swarmed to the bronze door. In an instant, Xiao Chun and Chu Chaoyan's figures were buried in the crowd. When they saw the carvings on the bronze door, many people sighed in amazement. It really is the fiery sect's remnant. The three-legged cauldron is the fiery sect's cornerstone treasure, the Dragon Fear Cauldron. The purple clouds on top of the cauldron should be the lunar true flame. This branch hall has 4 lunar true flames. It looks like its position is not simple. Yes, the fiery sect's main hall has 9 lunar true flames. The other branches are divided into 8 ranks based on the number of flames. There are 4 flames here. At the very least, it should not be the worst. Haha, it looks like Duanmuking did not lie to us. However, how does this door open? Can it be pushed? These people were all outstanding talents of the younger generation. Many of them had ancient books in the libraries of their clans. There was no lack of knowledgeable people. They immediately understood the meaning of the carvings on the bronze door. However, when they saw the tightly shut bronze door, they did not dare to push it open. The fiery sect was best at forging secret treasures. Forging secret treasures required the study of formations. It was hard to guarantee that there were no formations on the bronze door. Trying it rashly would just be seeking death. A young expert from the Dongming province stepped forward and said, "Let me try." This person wore cultivator robes of alternating blue and white. He had thick eyebrows and large eyes. He was 16 meters tall and had a stocky build. The muscles on his chest bulged like small hills. He carried a thick saber on his back. It was obvious that he was an expert in hard body techniques. He's Wen Yinbin. It's said that he's the #1 physical cultivator in Dongming. Even without using Yuan Qi, he can reach 15,000 pounds of force with one palm strike. This bronze door is at most 5,000 kilograms. This person might be able to open it. Furthermore, without using essence, it might not cause the formation to rebound. Everyone recognized Wen Yinbin and hurriedly invited him forward. At this time, someone was opening the door, so everyone was naturally happy. Wen Yinbin stretched out his right hand and gently placed it on the door on the left. He slightly rubbed it, then switched to the door on the right and rubbed it. Seeing that nothing out of the ordinary had happened, Zhang Xian calmed down slightly. He took a deep breath and quickly retracted his right hand. Then, he slammed his palm against the bronze door. Bang! The entire underground space began to shake, but the bronze gate did not move at all. There was no movement at all. Again, Wen Yinbin roared, and the muscles on his right arm doubled in size. He continuously smashed at the bronze gate. Bang! 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 The continuous loud sounds reverberated throughout the underground space. The huge force was transmitted to the ground, causing the surroundings to shake. Rocks kept falling from above. However, there was still no reaction from the bronze gate. There was no movement at all. Not even a small opening appeared. How can it be like this? There is no movement at all. Could it be that there is no way to open this bronze gate? The crowd exclaimed in astonishment. The continuous attacks caused Yin Bin's complexion to turn somewhat pale. This was how physical attacks worked. At least 30% of the force that struck the opponent would be reflected back to him. Each of Zhang Xian's palm strikes contained no less than 5,000 kilograms of force. When the rebound force accumulated, it was already a threat to Zhang Xian's meridians and internal organs. Seeing that there was still no movement, Yin Bin made up his mind. A ruthless look flashed in his eyes. Suddenly, Xiao Qian's right palm became larger. He clenched his fist and punched out ferociously. When Yin Bin punched out, even the air exploded. This punch contained his full strength. It contained 10,000 kilograms of force. Bang! There was a loud explosion, and the huge force rebounded. The internal injuries that Yin Bin had been suppressing erupted. He vomited a mouthful of blood and flew back. The entire space shook for a long time before it slowly stopped. However, there was still no reaction from the bronze gate. It did not even open a crack. Seeing Yin Bin sitting on the ground with a pale complexion and circulating his qi, everyone could not help but feel anxious. Someone said, "Since we cannot open this door with brute force, there should be some sort of mechanism. Open it." "I don't think so. Perhaps his strength has not reached a certain level. Perhaps he can use his essence to test it out. Duan is here. Let her take a look." As the crowd discussed intensely, Duan, Ji Chongkong, and the others slowly walked over from the back of the crowd. At this moment, no one said anything about an agreement. The most important thing was to open the gate. Duan appearance gave everyone hope. Everyone gave way, opening a path for Duan to walk to the front. When Duan saw everyone's eager expressions, there was no change in his expression. It was just like before, cold and beautiful, without a trace of the mundane world. Duan slowly walked forward and arrived before the bronze gate. Then, he inserted his hands into the two pillars on the left and right of the Dragon Phoenix Cauldron. His fingers dug in deeply. The Dragon Phoenix Cauldron had 3 pillars, one on the left and one on the right. The third pillar would only merge when the 2 doors were joined together. What's going on? When the crowd saw this, they were confused. The bronze gate weighed 5,000 kilograms. How could it be inserted so easily? When the crowd looked carefully, they discovered that Duan had not used brute force to insert his fingers. Instead, it was the Dragon Phoenix Cauldron's pillars. There were originally 5 finger holes. However, because of the light and the carvings, it created an illusion. It was easy to overlook them. Creak! Duan gently pulled with both hands. The bronze gate that had troubled the crowd for a long time, the one that Yin Bin could not push open even with his 10,000 kilograms of force, easily opened. So this door is supposed to be pulled, not pushed. "I've had this feeling for a long time," someone said after realizing it. Yin Bin, who was on the ground, had already recovered. He was so angry that he nearly vomited blood again. When he heard this, he thought about his earlier actions. They were extremely foolish. A majestic hall appeared in front of everyone's vision. Wind blew under their feet, and they all entered. There was a corridor in the center of the hall. There were many stone pillars at the side. An armored warrior stood in the middle of each pillar, holding a sword in his hand. When Xiao Chen looked around, this place did not look like it had been damaged at all. It was like thousands of years had not affected this place at all. Xiao Chen touched the stone pillar. The stone pillar was smooth, without a speck of dust. It was like someone cleaned it regularly. At the end of the corridor was a scarlet throne. A golden-armored warrior sat on it. 2 silver-armored warriors stood on both sides of the throne. They wore silver battle armor and had silver-sheathed swords at their waists. Xiao Chen looked at the golden-armored warrior. The golden-armored warrior was clad in golden battle armor and wore a golden mask. Its eyes were empty. However, its gaze gave off an incomparably deep feeling. It was clearly an inanimate object. It seemed somewhat contradictory. After Xiao Chen probed it, he discovered that it was really an inanimate object. It was filled with all sorts of metal parts. So he withdrew his gaze. This should be the main hall of the Firely Sex Branch Hall. I should go to their refining room and the library to take a look. The good things should be there. Xiao Chun thought to himself. He looked around the hall, searching for other paths. The 50 or 60 people all had excited expressions on their faces as they rummaged around, hoping to find something useful. It would be even better if it was a secret treasure. These armored warriors might be combat puppets unique to the Firely sect. I wonder if they can still be used. A few years ago, the Linlang Pavilion in the Imperial Capital auctioned one and sold it for a sky-high price, someone from the royal court said. When they heard this person say that, the others quickly stopped what they were doing and rushed to the armored warriors in the hall. Some went to retrieve their swords. Some wanted to remove their helmets to take a look. Pusii, Pusii. Just as the crowd was inspecting the armored warriors, all of them moved. The surrounding people were startled and quickly scattered. Kasie. All the armored warriors drew their swords at the same time. Sword lights flashed as they quickly attacked the surrounding people. They can still be used. We're going to be rich this time. These armored warriors are so complete. They can definitely be sold for a sky-high price. The cultivator from the royal court who spoke earlier said excitedly. When the crowd heard him say this, their fighting spirit immediately rose. They charged at the 20-odd armored warriors. The armored warriors were at the level of an inferior grade martial saint. They could send out dim sword chi. However, because they were wearing armor, they did not have any life force. They were impervious to weapons and could not feel pain. Despite having the advantage in numbers, the crowd was unable to subdue these armored warriors in a short period of time. Because Xiao Chun was standing further away, he did not receive any attacks from the armored warriors. Furthermore, there were very few armored warriors. Every armored warrior was surrounded by 3 or 4 cultivators. The scene was somewhat chaotic. Xiao Chun could not be bothered to join in on the excitement. He returned his gaze to the golden armored warrior on the scarlet throne. The 10 people fighting with the Scarlet Flame Chief and Duan Muking had not made a move yet. Their gazes were also on the 3 combat puppets on the scarlet throne. There was no reason for it. The combat prowess of the armored warriors was not high. The 10 of them did not care about them. Since they had come to a treasure trove, their standards were naturally much higher. Hu Qi. Aside from Xiao Chun, the 11 of them made a move at the same time. They pushed off the ground and quickly flew towards the scarlet throne. All sorts of lights were released. It was very beautiful. When the 2 silver-armored warriors beside the throne felt the auras of the 10, their empty eyes lit up with a scarlet light. They suddenly came to life. Chapter 3:17. 2 dense silver sword chi tore through the air and headed for the 3 people in front. The silver sword chi was as resplendent as a pillar. What a dense sword chi! It is equivalent to the strength of a peak martial saint, Xiao Chun said in astonishment as he looked at the 2 sword chi. Although Xiao Chun wanted those 3 combat puppets that were clearly different from the others, there was not enough meat to go around. If he fought over them, he would exhaust a lot of his strength. The Firely sect remnant would definitely have more than this. It was not time for him to go all out yet. Pooh! Just as Xiao Chun was thinking, a cold light flew at him. Xiao Chun pushed off the ground and instantly retreated tens of meters. Xiao Chun looked to the side and saw an iron-armored warrior. After it injured a cultivator, it broke out of the encirclement and charged at Xiao Chun. Xiao Chun had a calm expression as he smiled gently. Good timing. I could take a look at what these combat puppets are. Kung! Kung! The iron-armored warrior's heavy body leaped quickly on the ground. With every step it took, the armor on its body clashed with each other, giving off a melodious sound. Drawing the saber, Xiao Chun drew the lunar shadow saber with a ka-cie sound and swung it. It was like a roaring bolt of lightning. Its speed and strength were at their peak. With a shio sound, it knocked away the sword in the iron-armored warrior's hand. It is still too weak. This iron-armored warrior does not have much value. Xiao Chun shook his head slightly and sheathed the lunar shadow saber. Xiao Chun took a step forward and tilted his head slightly, easily dodging the iron-armored warrior's attack. He clenched his fist and punched the iron-armored warrior. Boom! 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 The iron-armored warrior took 3 steps back. The heavy force caused the armor on its body to tremble. There was a loud cracking sound. Now, a casual punch from me can achieve 10,000 kilograms of force. For it to be able to receive a punch from me without shattering its bones, its defense is pretty good. Xiao Chun evaluated in his heart. He casually moved back and dodged the iron-armored warrior's attack again. Since the walls of the main hall were already behind him, Xiao Qin no longer intended to retreat. He stood where he was and held the lunar shadow saber in his left hand. He opened his right hand and used his palm as a saber, easily blocking the iron-armored warrior's attack. Its speed was not good either. It barely reached Mach 2. However, the way it attacked was very orderly, like it contained the shadow of several fist techniques. The iron-armored warrior's ancestors of the Firely sect were really geniuses. Xiao Qin easily exchanged moves with the iron-armored warrior with one. After exchanging a few moves, Xiao Chun, his speed was comparable to a medial grade martial saint's. His strength was barely at inferior grade martial saint's. His defense was startling. His overall combat prowess was at the peak of medial grade martial saint. However, the iron-armored warrior's energy source would eventually run out. It would not be able to fight indefinitely. At that time, it would become a pile of scrap metal. The three people surrounding the iron-armored warrior were completely dumbfounded. Earlier, the three of them had used their full power and could only barely suppress this iron-armored warrior. This was because the iron-armored warrior's defense was too strong. However, in Xiao Qin's hands, he did not even need to move his hand to easily toy with the iron-armored warrior. Bang! Xiao Qin shouted. He could not be bothered to continue playing with it. He punched with 60% of his strength, instantly reaching 25,000 kilograms of force. The iron-armored warrior was knocked to the ground. It struggled for a while before it stopped moving. After waiting for a while, Xiao Chun bent down and flipped the iron-armored warrior over. He discovered a tightly shut metal door on the back of the battle armor. The metal door was tightly shut. There was no way to open it. Xiao Chun found a small protruding metal plate at the side and pressed it without hesitation. Kassier. The two small metal doors immediately opened, revealing indentations filled with inferior-grade spirit stones. There were a total of 20 inferior-grade spirit stones in them. However, the spirit stones were currently dim, no different from ordinary stones. It was clear that their spiritual energy had been exhausted. So that's how it is, Xiao Chun thought to himself. Using spirit stones as a source of energy, it was more or less what he expected. If he embedded a medial-grade spirit stone into it, its might increase. When the three people saw Xiao Qin's actions, they suddenly reacted. They had discovered this combat puppet first. In the end, Xiao Qin treated it as his own. You are seeking death. You actually dare to snatch my things? How reckless. One of them snorted coldly. Then, he swung his saber at Xiao Chun. The other two were not slow. They attacked almost at the same time. 3 saber lights and sword images flew at Xiao Chun with ferocious auras. Xiao Chun raised his head slightly. There were no fluctuations in his calm eyes. He appeared indifferent, clearly dispirited. These 3 people were not enough for him. Glittering Wu Kuei, Xiao Chun drew the lunar shadow saber at lightning speed. He brandished the saber 3 times in the air, and 3 strands of extremely dense purple saber chi comparable to that of a martial king appeared. In an instant, the saber and sword moves of the 3 people shattered. The weapons in their hands could not withstand the pressure and shattered. Bang! 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 The momentum of the saber chi did not decrease. It struck the protective essence of the 3 people and left horrifying wounds on their chests. Blood immediately spurted out. The intense shockwave blew the 3 people far away. They even tumbled miserably a few times. This was the result of Xiao Chun showing mercy. If the saber chi contained the state of thunder, these 3 strands of saber chi would have easily chopped them in half. If it were a martial saint who had not comprehended a state, even a peak superior grade martial saint, Xiao Chun would be able to kill them easily. In the martial saint realm, he was only a step away from being unrivaled. Quick leave. We cannot offend this person. The 3 people on the ground did not care about their wounds. They looked at Xiao Chan with horror in their eyes and quickly left the place. Seeing that they had already left, Xiao Chun could not be bothered to chase after them. He focused his gaze on the inferior grade spirit stones once again, revealing a curious gaze. "Take them out and see what exactly is inside," Xiao Chun said softly. Then he tossed out the spirit stones one by one. Finally, he saw a protruding needle at the bottom of the groove. After hesitating for a while, Xiao Chun touched the needle with his index finger. He felt a slight pain, and the needle immediately pricked his index finger. Blood flowed from his finger, and countless pieces of information quickly appeared in Xiao Chen's mind. The information was like the sea, giving Xiao Chen a splitting headache. However, this did not last for long. After 3 breaths, the headache immediately disappeared. After he sorted through the information, Xiao Chen slowly accepted it. Flowing cloud sword technique, Wuyue fist technique, everlasting flowing water, a general outline of martial techniques appeared in his mind. Xiao Chun reacted. These were all the martial techniques of the iron-armored warriors. There were fist techniques, leg techniques, movement techniques, sword techniques, saber techniques, and spear techniques. Finally, all this information disappeared. Xiao Chun felt extremely weak while coming at him. However, his spiritual sense immediately swallowed it up. This should be the will left behind by the previous master of the iron-armored warrior. It has been too long. It is already insignificant. Next, it should be time for me to infuse my will into it. Xiao Chun controlled his will and extended it down his arm, entering the interior of the iron-armored warrior. Then, he imprinted his will on it. When he released his finger, Xiao Chun immediately felt like he had a clone. However, this clone could not move yet. Xiao Chun took out an inferior grade spirit stone from the universe ring and placed it in. Then, he closed the small metal door behind the iron-armored warrior. With a thought, the iron-armored warrior stood up. Xiao Chun controlled the iron-armored warrior. He felt that it was very convenient and simple. There were 2 ways to control it. One was to control it actively. It was as easy as moving his own arm. The other was to control it autonomously. He could lock onto an enemy and let the iron-armored warrior attack on its own. Xiao Chun tried to lock onto a stone pillar for it to immediately attack. After that, there was no need for Xiao Chun to worry. Xiao Chun smiled gently and said indifferently, "The people of the Firely sect are truly geniuses. To think that they could do something like this. Not only did they inherit the method of creating secret treasures from the ancient times, they even created a secret treasure like the combat puppet. In the end, due to the exhaustion of spiritual energy, aside from a few that were completely destroyed, the rest of the iron-armored warriors were controlled by someone else. It looked like the issue of spiritual energy was the combat puppet's greatest weakness. If it did not have this weakness, the combat puppet would be nearly perfect." Xiao Chun shifted his gaze upwards. The 2 silver combat puppets were still as tyrannical and ferocious as before. They brandished their swords, and sharp sword chi spread out continuously. Even the air was sliced in half. The 10 of them fought an intense battle. All sorts of martial techniques and sword chi struck the other party. However, to the combat puppets that did not feel pain, they could not feel it at all. A strange scene occurred on the battlefield. The silver-armored warrior, who is only a peak superior grade martial saint, suppressed 10 peak superior grade martial saints with deep cultivations. Of course, this was also because the 10 of them knew that they could defeat the other party by exhausting the other party's essence. All they had to do was drag out some time. There was no need to waste a huge battle. Clearly, the true enemy was not the silver-armored warrior. Instead, it was the teammates that were fighting the silver-armored warrior. They are far from exhausted of spiritual energy. It looks like these silver combat puppets use medial grade spirit stones. Xiao Chun thought to himself, if the silver-armored warrior could revive, then the golden-armored warrior on the throne should be able to revive as well. If the silver one was a peak martial saint, then the golden-armored warrior would be a martial king. A completely loyal martial king helper that did not feel pain, did not know fatigue, and did not know what that meant. Everyone here knew what that meant. That meant that the golden-armored warrior would be able to double their strength. In this fierily sect remnant, they would have the best trump card in the upcoming fight for the secret treasure. The reason why these 10 people had not used their trump cards to deal with the 2 silver-armored warriors was probably because of the golden-armored warrior on the throne. The outstanding talents that subdued the iron-armored warriors felt their confidence swell. They felt that they could deal with the golden-armored warrior with their strength. Compared to the 10 demonic geniuses, they might be weaker. However, with the iron-armored warriors, they might have a chance if they took advantage of the crisis. They all stared at the golden-armored warrior on the scarlet throne, waiting for the golden-armored warrior to wake up and take action. Chapter 3:18. Xiao Qian's gaze was focused on the golden-armored warrior. Like everyone else, Xiao Qian was very interested in this golden-armored warrior. However, Xiao Qian thought even further. Even if he obtained the golden-armored warrior, how to make it recognize him as its master was a problem. An iron-armored warrior required 3 breaths of time to recognize a master. The golden-armored warrior would definitely take longer. During this time, how to ensure that others would not make a move on him was the key. I have to think of a way to retreat in advance. Xiao Qian looked at the 2 intersections behind the throne. He thought quickly and silently turned around. Xiao Qian hid himself in the shadows. While everyone's attention was focused on the battle between the silver-armored warrior and the scarlet throne, he quickly made his way to the intersection. Xiao Qian avoided everyone's gazes and walked quickly to the intersection. 10 minutes later, he returned to the main hall without a sound. He already had a plan in mind. The light of the 2 silver-armored warriors had already dimmed. It looked like they would not be able to last much longer. Once the silver-armored warrior fell, the golden-armored warrior would probably wake up. At that time, the true battle would begin. An inconspicuous patch of white appeared at the end of Duan Yuking's black hair. Clearly, this was the prelude to circulating the profound ice incantation. A red figure was faintly discernible behind Hua Yunfei. The sword in his hand was spitting out a strange red sword light. Countless stars flickered in Ji Changkong's eyes. A resplendent river of stars surrounded him, slowly giving off a gentle light. Starlight shot out in all directions. Only one of his fate stars was dim and incomparably silent. The Gi Marquis wore golden battle armor and held the sky-splitting sword in his hand. He had a grave and stern expression, and there was a righteous qi gathering on his forehead. Xiao Qian shifted his gaze to Chu Chaoyan. Chu Chaoyan appeared very carefree. His expression was as calm as before. However, Xiao Qian could feel that the holy weapon on his back was gathering a boundless aura. It was even trembling slightly. He seemed extremely excited, waiting for the moment he unsheathed it to shock everyone. The other cultivators below also rubbed their palms in anticipation. They controlled the iron-armored warriors to draw their weapons and unleash their auras without holding back. For a time, undercurrents surged in the main hall, while various imposing auras surged without end, yet it seemed to be extremely quiet. This was the calm before the storm. Other than the sound of the sword ki produced by the silver-armored warrior, even the heavy breathing of the crowd could be heard. Everyone's attention was raised to the extreme as they stared at the golden-armored warrior sitting on the throne. Their eyes were filled with a crazed desire. The 2 silver-armored warriors finally ran out of spiritual energy and fell to the ground with a bang. The instant the golden-armored warrior fell, 2 strands of golden light suddenly appeared in the empty eyes of the golden-armored warrior. He stood up from his throne. Clang, clang. The golden battle armor on Xiao Qian's body clashed with each other, giving off clanging sounds that reverberated in the main hall. The golden-armored warrior drew the golden sword at his waist. Instantly, an aura equal to that of a peak inferior grade martial king spread out from his body. However, just at this moment, the killing moves that the 10 of them had prepared for a long time were finally unleashed without holding back. Astral swordplay, gathering stars. Ji Changkong shouted, and the sword in his hand released an incomparably dazzling light. The star that belonged to him immediately lit up with a resplendent light within the river of stars that was overflowing with light. Blood soul possession, blood killing the world. Hua Yunfei roared ferociously, and the indistinct scarlet figure behind him finally solidified and merged into his body. His eyes immediately turned scarlet, and his lips curled up in a sinister smile. His aura rose infinitely, and the scarlet sword in his hand gave off a bright red light. It seemed like it could engulf the world. Profound ice break, absolute zero. Duamuking's black hair suddenly turned snow white. His eyes lost all worldly fire. He looked like an emotionless fairy from the heavens. Countless snowflakes drifted down from the sky, and the surrounding temperature plummeted. The cold penetrated deep into one's bones. The Gi Marquis, Ing Shao, did not say anything unnecessary. He swung the holy weapon in his hand, and a vague fluctuation appeared in the natural laws. He drew on the power of the heavenly Tao and attacked the golden-armored warrior. The 10 demonic geniuses made their moves one after another. Lights of various colors bloomed, and shockwaves spread through the air. Many of the cultivators preparing to join in the fun were knocked back by the shockwaves. Such a horrifying attack had been prepared for a long time. Even a regular medial-grade martial king would not have any other ending. They would die on the spot. They would not even have a chance to dodge. Xiao Qian's eyes were like lightning. Just as he was about to use the lightning evasion, he suddenly stopped and stared at the Scarlet Throne. The instant the golden-armored warrior stood up, the Scarlet Throne seemed to rise by 2 centimeters for no reason. Furthermore, Xiao Qian's spiritual sense felt a strong mental energy on it, disappearing in a flash. What's going on? Did I see wrong? Xiao Qian thought suspiciously. Just as Xiao Qian was feeling suspicious, the attacks of the 10 peak martial saints struck the golden-armored warrior at the same time. There was a loud sound, and a horrifying shockwave exploded above the throne. Boom! The 12 stone pillars in the main hall shattered. The cultivators below could not dodge in time. The shockwave struck them, causing them to vomit blood and fall to the ground. The entire main hall started to shake violently. Rocks fell from the ceiling like raindrops, crashing down incessantly. The main hall looked like it was going to collapse soon. Dust filled the air, and rocks fell like rain. The people on the ground fled in all directions. The place was extremely chaotic. Amid the chaos, a golden light suddenly lit up as the dust filled the air. It was as dazzling as the sun, dazzling everyone's eyes. It was Chu Chaoyun, who had been silent for a long time, making his move. Golden ripples appeared in the air as if the entire world was being torn apart. In an instant, Chu Chaoyun suppressed the peak attacks of the 9 cultivators. The 9 cultivators were all knocked back. This was Chu Chaoyun's strength. The moment he drew his holy weapon, a sword light appeared and suppressed everyone. Although Chu Chaoyun had the advantage of striking after the enemy attacked, this strength could not be erased, no matter what. Bang! Chu Chaoyun held the golden-armored warrior, whose energy had been drained by everyone, in his embrace. Then, he smashed a large hole in the wall behind the throne. Then, he jumped in without hesitation. This palm added a fire to the shaking hall, and it began to collapse with a loud rumble. Let's go quickly. The hall is going to collapse. If we do not leave now, we will die. When the other cultivators saw that the situation was bad, they executed their trump cards to flee the main hall. The 9 cultivators that Chu Chaoyun knocked back did not hesitate. They revealed furious expressions as they followed Chu Chaoyun and jumped into the large hole in the wall. Boom! 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 The majestic and dignified hall completely collapsed. The huge rocks from the ceiling fell with a loud rumble, shaking the ground. It was like the sky was collapsing. After a long time, the hall, which was rumbling non-stop, finally quieted down. The hall, which was originally in perfect condition, was now in ruins. The hall was extremely dilapidated. There were broken fences and broken walls everywhere. Dust covered the ground, and smoke billowed. Cassier, on a pile of stone pillars and rocks, pieces of broken bricks slid down rapidly. A badly damaged warrior in iron armor stood up with a loud bang, and the rubble and rocks completely slid down. Xiao Chun, who was lying on the ground, patted the dust off his body and stood out from the middle, completely unharmed. Xiao Chen looked at the badly damaged, iron-armored warrior and smiled faintly. He said, "The defense of the iron-armored warrior is indeed astonishing. It helped me block the endless rocks from above. Unfortunately, it looks like it is about to be scrapped." Xiao Chen shook his head slightly and looked at the now empty ruins. Then he shifted his gaze to the dust-covered scarlet throne. Then he walked over with a determined gaze. "CA, CA." Stepping on the rubble and tiles on the ground, Xiao Chen arrived at the scarlet throne step by step. However, he was not in a rush to check on the situation on the throne. Xiao Chen looked around. After he verified that there was no one around, he returned to the side of the throne. Just as he was about to check on it, he noticed the battle armor of the silver-armored warrior in a corner of the rubble. Xiao Chen sent out a few palm winds and blew away the rubble on the ground, revealing 2 silver combat puppets. Aside from the dust on the surface of the battle armor, it was surprisingly undamaged. It looked like the defense of this silver battle armor rivaled that of an inferior-grade martial king. Compared to the iron-armored warrior, it was much stronger. Xiao Chen gently waved his sleeves and immediately swept away all the dust on the silver-armored warrior. Xiao Chen squatted down and opened the small door on the back of the silver-armored warrior. As he had expected, the silver-armored warrior had indeed used medial-grade spirit stones. There were 20 of them, no more, no less. Xiao Chen took out the discarded medial-grade spirit stones from the grooves and erased the will of the predecessors. Then he started to recognize them as his own. This recognition took 5 minutes before Xiao Chen's will was completely imprinted on them. After a while, the 2 silver-armored warriors were recognized by Xiao Chen as their masters. After he filled them with medial-grade spirit stones, the silver-armored warriors immediately recovered their vitality. When Xiao Chen swung his sword, a sharp sword chi rampaged through the rubble. Everywhere it passed, the broken walls turned into rubble. Xiao Chen nodded in satisfaction. With the addition of the 2 silver-armored warriors and the broken iron-armored warrior, he should be able to deal with Chu Chaoyun's golden-armored warrior. Recollecting his thoughts, Xiao Chen shifted his gaze back to the scarlet throne. He controlled the 3 combat puppets to move away the large rocks on the throne. After that, Xiao Chen waved his sleeves and blew away all the dust. The scarlet throne finally appeared in his vision. The entire throne was made of a mysterious scarlet material. When Xiao Chen touched the patterns on it, he found it very strange. This was the material used to polish the throne. It was not made of metal, spirit wood, or even rock. It was heavy and cool to the touch. Xiao Chen thought of the strong mental energy he felt earlier. He placed one hand on the armrest of the throne and slowly infused his spiritual sense into the throne. Chapter 319. Boom! The instant his spiritual sense entered the throne, an intense explosion resounded in Xiao Chen's ears. His mind buzzed as a boundless state of massacre infused into it. The horrifying state of massacre was like a scarlet sea. It instantly infused into every one of Xiao Chen's nerves. An uncontrollable murderous intent arose in Xiao Chen's heart. His eyes instantly turned scarlet, and his fine black hair fluttered about. His delicate face turned sinister and horrifying, like a man-eating demon. How could it be like this? Xiao Chen was horrified. He wanted to let go, but a huge force held his hand in place. He could not let go at all. I can't go on like this. My will be filled with massacre. After that, I will lose all reason and become a true murderous demon king. This state of massacre is too horrifying. Xiao Chen circulated the purple thunder divine incantation and guarded his dantian. He sank his consciousness and did his best to maintain a trace of clarity in his divine pedestal. The surging state of massacre in the Scarlet Sea was boundless and overwhelming. As Xiao Chen resisted this energy, he felt incredible pain. His skin turned incredibly pale. The capillaries under his skin were clearly visible. They looked like they wanted to break free from the restraints of his skin and burst open. This feeling was several times more painful than when the blue dragon martial spirit first awakened. It was not something a human could endure. Amid the torment, Xiao Qin's consciousness started to turn blurry. He could no longer endure it and howled in pain. Bang! 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 The capillaries under Xiao Qin's skin ruptured. Tiny drops of blood instantly covered his skin, making him look like a man made of blood. Give up. Accept this unbridled state of the sand. All your pain will immediately disappear. You can even enjoy boundless power. As Xiao Qin held on bitterly, an ethereal voice rang out in his mind. The voice resounded in his ears continuously, luring him to give up resisting. No way. Xiao Qin clenched his teeth and ignored the voice in his mind. He clung to the last trace of clarity in his divine pedestal. Once he gave up resisting, he would completely become a slave of slaughter, and his original self would completely disappear. Suddenly, Xiao Qin recalled some of the records in the Compendium of Cultivation. This scarlet throne should be a secret treasure. However, it was not a secret treasure of the righteous Tao, but an evil Tao secret treasure. The owner of the secret treasure should have already died, but the evil born from the secret treasure had not disappeared. However, it had been silent for such a long time, so this will was definitely not very strong. I was just caught off guard. If his spiritual sense was really stronger than mine, he would have already devoured me. Xiao Qin gathered all of his divine senses together. With a thought, his divine senses immediately turned into a golden deity and flew toward the blood river in the deepest part of the throne. He had to find that will and destroy it. Otherwise, with such a passive resistance, it would only be a matter of time before he succumbed. The deity flew further and further away in the consciousness space. The boundless sea of blood seemed endless. However, Xiao Qin did not feel discouraged. There would always be an end to the boundless sea of blood. The consciousness space was no exception. Unless the other party was a true ancient emperor, they might not be able to condense an eternal sea of blood. After an unknown amount of time, the deity controlled by Xiao Qin finally arrived at the end of the sea of blood. There was a scarlet abyss there, and a huge scarlet head connected to the sea of blood. It looked at the deity from afar. The scarlet head roared angrily and opened its huge mouth, swallowing the golden deity in an instant. The golden deity closed its eyes and allowed the boundless blood to stick to its body. After a while, it suddenly opened its eyes, and a dazzling golden light pierced through the scarlet head. The scarlet head howled in pain. It gave up on swallowing the deity and retreated in horror. Indeed, it is as I expected. This evil will of massacre is very weak. I was just too rash. I did not have time to condense my spiritual sense and rashly send it in. Hence, I was caught off guard. This is a lesson. In the future, whenever I face something unknown, I have to be very cautious. The scarlet light in Xiao Qin's eyes faded a little. They were no longer as horrifying as before, and they slowly became clear. The scarlet head retreated to the sky above the abyss and waved its hand. A huge scarlet hand appeared above the sea of blood and smashed at the golden deity. Kill! The golden deity shouted angrily, and a sword shining with golden light appeared in its hand. It swung the sword, and the surging golden light chopped the scarlet hand into pieces. The golden deity pointed the sword at the sky, and a pillar of light rushed into the sky. Instantly, a bright light scattered down. The light turned into a golden liquid that dripped onto the sea of blood like rain. As more and more of the golden liquid merged into the sea of blood, the sea of blood started to boil and slowly turned into a golden sea. Ah, 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 ah. The scarlet head looked like it was being boiled as it cried out in pain. When the sea of blood turned completely golden, its body that was connected to the sea of blood was completely chopped off, leaving only a lonely head. Back in reality, the scarlet light in Xiao Qin's eyes vanished. His sinister expression vanished, and he calmed down. That heart-wrenching pain no longer existed. All that was left was Gu Linling's head. In this spiritual world, it could be said that there was no way out, and there was no way out. It tried several times to burrow into the sea of consciousness. In the end, when it touched the golden sea of blood, it cried out in pain. Furthermore, its head shrank. Shao Chun controlled the golden deity to send out strands of sword light. The scarlet head scurried around in the air, dodging the horrifying golden light. In the end, it is just a paper tiger, Shao Chun thought to himself. The golden deity took advantage of this opportunity. Its left hand grew infinitely large, and it grabbed the head. Don't kill me. I can recognize you as my master and establish a blood contract. I will never betray you. Also, I will tell you the secret of this massacre throne in full detail. After the scarlet head was grabbed, it begged nonstop. Evil demon, what use do I have for you? Shao Chun snorted coldly and crushed the scarlet head. This evil creature was crafty and capricious. When it grew stronger, it might immediately turn around and bite Shao Chun. It could not be left alive. As for the secret of the Scarlet Throne, Shao Chun could slowly dig it out. This was a matter of life and death. It was always better to be cautious. The instant the scarlet head was completely destroyed, the Scarlet Throne under Shao Chun's hand turned into a red beam of light and quickly entered every part of Shao Chun's body. After the beam of light entered Shao Chun's body, the wounds caused by the exploding blood vessels all over his body healed at a visible rate. After a while, Shao Chun had completely recovered. All the wounds had vanished, and his skin glowed with a white glow. It was even fairer and more tender than an ordinary woman's. Boom! The red light that flowed through every part of Shao Chun's body gathered at his forehead, forming a red throne marked the size of a pinky finger. Shao Chun withdrew his spiritual sense and looked at everything that happened to his body. He revealed a doubtful expression in his eyes. Shao Chun placed his left hand before his eyes and looked carefully. He saw that the skin was as white as frost, crystalline and translucent. This pair of hands was so beautiful that it was scary. Not only did the surface change greatly, but Shao Chun also felt a huge force when he clenched his fist. His physical body was even stronger than before. When Shao Chun saw the badly damaged iron-armored warrior at the side, he slowly walked over and casually punched the iron-armored warrior's chest. The huge force flowed through Shao Chun's slender right arm and into his 5 fingers. There was a loud boom, and the badly damaged iron-armored warrior immediately shattered into pieces. The various metal fragments of the armor scattered all over the ground. However, they were so broken that they could not be broken anymore. There was no way to repair them anymore. Shao Chun revealed an expression of pleasant surprise. He said with some uncertainty, after the dragon and tiger body, sculpting art reached the threshold of the 4th layer, dragon, tendon, tiger bone, the strength of my next strike reached 10,000 kilograms of force. A full power strike can only achieve 15,000 kilograms of force. However, that casual strike clearly achieved 15,000 kilograms of force. Could it be that after this Scarlet Throne entered my body, it strengthened my physical body? Suddenly, Shao Chun had a guess. With the increase in strength, would a few more acupoints on his right arm open? Shao Chun checked the acupoints on his right arm. Indeed, it was as he expected. The original one had increased to 14. He was just short of 2 more before he could open all 16 acupoints on his right arm. It looks like it will not be long before the true blue dragon chi appears, Shao Chun thought excitedly. After checking to see if there were any other changes, Shao Chun took out a small knife and gently sliced his jade-like skin. Instantly, a small wound appeared and blood flowed out. However, not long after, scars appeared on the wound. Then, they quickly disappeared. His skin became as good as before. There was no way to tell that he had been injured. Unexpectedly, his body possessed the ability to heal naturally. His strength also became more reserved. The exaggerated muscles that he had trained in the past had all shrunk back. Shao Chun returned to the appearance of an ordinary person. However, the force he used had doubled. What exactly is the origin of this Scarlet Throne? Shao Chun put away the small knife, his eyes filled with doubt. Closing his eyes, Shao Chun carefully sensed the position of the Scarlet Throne. A scarlet throne floated in the sea of consciousness on his forehead. A supreme might spread throughout the entire sea of consciousness. The forehead was the source of all cultivators' spiritual world. It was known as the sea of consciousness. However, only people with extremely strong mental energy could truly open their own sea of consciousness. According to the cultivation realms of the Tianwu continent, only martial monarchs could truly open their own sea of consciousness. Ordinary people would never have the chance to open their sea of consciousness in their lifetime. Hence, they would not care about this problem. After opening the sea of consciousness, cultivators could truly cultivate their mental energy. Before this, cultivators only had perception. They did not have true mental energy. In the past, because of the purple thunder divine incantation, Shao Chun could cultivate mental energy from start. His mental energy was much stronger than a regular cultivator's. It could even be said that they were on a completely different level. However, there was still a long way to go before he could open his sea of consciousness. At the very least, his cultivation realm was not high enough. Unexpectedly, he managed to open his sea of consciousness because of the Scarlet Throne. Chapter 320. Shao Chun had not seriously studied how to use mental energy in combat. He did not have any introductory methods, so he did not care much about it. He just used his spiritual sense to probe. Shao Chun did not see any benefits from opening his sea of consciousness in advance, so he did not need to think about it. He summoned out the throne first. With a thought, the Scarlet Throne mark on Shao Chun's forehead flashed with a red light. The throne in his sea of consciousness immediately flew out. Ooh! The Scarlet Throne floated in the air. Shao Chun discovered that he was already sitting on it. He placed his hands on the armrests and leaned against the back of the throne. Below the throne was a layer of churning blood-colored clouds. The reason the throne was able to float seemed to be because of this layer of blood-colored clouds. Shao Chun felt that this Scarlet Throne was like his flesh and blood. That sense of intimacy was much stronger than that of the combat puppets. The two could not be compared at all. When Shao Chun sat on the Scarlet Throne, an uncontrollable king's might spread out. This king's might was released unintentionally. Even Shao Chun did not feel it. There was only a small trace of king's might, but the aura and might it contained made one's heart tremble. This king's might was comparable to a regular king's might. If an ordinary person appeared here, they would definitely not be able to withstand the pressure and fall to their knees. Fly! Shao Chun looked ahead and locked onto a direction. The scarlet clouds drove the throne in that direction at lightning speed. In the blink of an eye, it moved more than 100 meters. Shao Chun patted the armrest gently and muttered, "Just a casual move, and I reach the speed of sound. Furthermore, it seems like I have not had enough yet. It looks like I can reach 5 times the speed of sound if I fly at full speed. In the future, I will have another option for escaping and traveling." This was the first time Shao Chun experienced the flying function of the Scarlet Throne. He felt somewhat excited. He flew for a long time above the ruins before stopping. Ooh! Shao Chun tore through the scarlet clouds and landed firmly on the ground. The scarlet mark on his forehead flashed with a red light, and the Scarlet Throne immediately turned into a beam of light and returned to his sea of consciousness. The Scarlet Throne really has many secrets. I will slowly dig them out in the future, Shao Chun said softly as he touched the mark on his forehead. Suddenly, Shao Chun thought of something. He took out a bronze mirror from the universe ring and looked at his face. His appearance had not changed much, just that his skin was much fairer than before. Fortunately, the effects of the shape-shifting spell were still present. Otherwise, he would have been exposed and could only leave. Just as Shao Chun was about to put down the bronze mirror, he glanced at the Scarlet Throne mark on his forehead. It looked like a drop of blood was imprinted on it. Shao Chun's originally delicate face now had a strange demonic air to it. With one look, it would leave a deep impression. No, this mark is too eye-catching. If I do things here, I will be too high-profile. Shao Chun put down the bronze mirror and took out a blue strip of cloth to cover his forehead, covering the mark. After the blue strip of cloth covered the mark, Shao Chun's delicate face lost its demonic air and gained a refreshing look. It no longer looked eye-catching, making him look very ordinary. However, If one looked at it carefully, they would feel a sense of comfort. It was very pleasing to look at. After Shao Chun prepared everything, he led the two silver-armored warriors away. Just as he was about to leave, he suddenly discovered an empty hole below the Scarlet Throne. Unexpectedly, it is an intact secret tunnel. Shao Chun looked at the hole and muttered, "The secret tunnel below the throne must be a whole new world. Let's go down and take a look." After Shao Chun spoke, he ordered the two silver-armored warriors to jump down. Then, he jumped down as well. This way, if there was any danger, the silver-armored warriors would be able to block it for a while. About 10 minutes after Shao Chun left, a tall and stout cultivator quickly arrived at the rubble. He had an excited expression on his face as he searched the ground for something. Occasionally, he punched, sweeping away the dust on the ground. This person was the strongest person in the Dongming province with a strong physical body, Wen Yinbin. After searching for a long time, Wen Yinbin's expression finally turned anxious. He cursed, "Damn it, I reacted very quickly already. Why did I not go and look for other secret treasures? Why did I not find the two silver-armored warriors?" Suddenly, Wen Yinbin glanced around and saw that the place where the throne had been was empty. He quickly rushed over. When Wen Yinbin saw the hole below the throne, his expression became uncertain. After a while, he said sullenly, "This person must have obtained two silver-armored warriors. If I chase after him, I might not be able to defeat him. Never mind, I'll go and take a look first. I can use 10,000 kilograms of force with my full power. If I do not use my essence, I might be able to sneak attack him." Thinking of this, Wen Yinbin no longer hesitated. With a resolute expression, he jumped down from the hole. Not long after, a few more groups of people arrived. Their goal was the same as Wen Yinbin's. Naturally, they did not find the silver-armored warriors. Instead, they discovered a secret passage. These groups of people did not hesitate and jumped down one after another. The secret passage under the throne was definitely not an ordinary entrance. It was not just Shao Chun who could think of it. The others could as well. Bang! Bang! Two heavy sounds rang out as the silver-armored warriors landed on the ground. Dang! 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 The instant the silver-armored warriors landed, strands of sword chi flew over and struck the silver-armored warriors. Shao Chun quickly executed the gravity spell and slowed down his descent. Then, he looked down and saw a wide passageway. On both sides of the wall, there would be an oil lamp every few meters, illuminating the entire floor. The passageway was densely packed with iron-armored warriors. With a rough count, there were dozens of them. Fortunately, there were two silver-armored warriors opening the way first. Otherwise, if Shao Chun had jumped down and suffered from so many attacks, he would not have had it easy. The two silver-armored warriors did their best to block the many iron-armored warriors. The sharp sword chi rampaged through the group of iron-armored warriors, giving off metallic sounds. The iron-armored warriors' sword chi shattered upon contact. They could not resist at all. However, the iron-armored warriors had higher defenses. Although the silver-armored warriors could shatter the other party's sword chi, their own sword chi could not kill them immediately. They needed 3 strands of sword chi to shatter an iron-armored warrior. The situation was somewhat anxious. Shao Chun did not want to waste any more time. He recalled the two silver-armored warriors with his thoughts and decided to do it himself. After all, the iron-armored warriors were only medial-grade martial saints. Pusi. Shao Chun scattered the gravity spell and quickly landed on the ground. He drew his lunar shadow saber at lightning speed and sent out a purple light, chopping an iron-armored warrior charging at him in half. Glittering Wukuei, Shao Chun shouted and infused the state of thunder into his saber technique. The purple divine Wukuei tree branch turned into a strand of saber chi flickering with electric light. The saber chi flickering with electricity flashed through the group of iron-armored warriors in the passageway. Bang! 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 Everywhere the saber chi passed, all the iron-armored warriors were chopped in half and fell to the ground. Wukuei transforms to chi. Shao Chun shouted again, and his saber light danced. The superior-grade Wukue tree appeared from nowhere. In an instant, it turned into countless strands of purple saber chi flying around in the passageway. A series of shattering sounds rang out in the passageway. The sharp saber chi sliced through the armored warriors like they were tofu, effortlessly slicing them into countless pieces. When the saber chi scattered, the dozens of iron-armored warriors blocking the way were all smashed to pieces. They were all dead. If others saw this, they would definitely complain about how wasteful it was. Unfortunately, the combat prowess of these iron-armored warriors was nothing to Xiao Chun. He could only barely use the silver-armored warriors. What he truly wanted were the golden-armored warriors, which were as strong as peak inferior grade martial kings. Now that he was in a rush, there was no need to hold back. Xiao Chun sheathed his saber and instructed the two silver-armored warriors to scout ahead. Then he followed. Along the way, Xiao Chun would run into a group of iron-armored warriors every 500 meters. The state of thunder that contained holy might infused into his saber technique did not stop at all. Everywhere the saber light passed, it swept everything in its path. Killing the iron-armored warriors was as easy as slaughtering dogs. They did not stop Xiao Chun at all. Sometimes, when quality was poor, quantity could not make up for it. What was the point of having so much trash? Just like that, Xiao Chun did not stop moving. After traveling for 5 kilometers and passing through a few forks, the end of the passageway finally appeared in Xiao Chun's vision. Xiao Chun stopped. There was a large door at the end of the passageway. After spending 5 minutes dealing with the guards at the door, he immediately controlled the silver-armored warriors to push the door open. After Xiao Chun saw that there was no danger, he slowly walked in. Behind the door was a small room filled with heavy bookshelves. Xiao Chun rejoiced in his heart. This should be the Firely Hall's library. However, his expression immediately changed. The bookshelves were empty. He did not see a single secret manual. Feeling somewhat dissatisfied, Xiao Chun searched around the library. Finally, he found a book with a tattered cover at the foot of a bookshelf. Although the cover was tattered, the paper was well preserved. The contents were intact. Xiao Chun's face lit up in joy. He quickly flipped through the book. He saw the introduction to the ancient era's secret treasures. This book introduced the origins and uses of the various strong secret treasures of the ancient era. Seeing this, Xiao Chun's heart sank. This book might not be the same as the secret manual for forging secret treasures that he was looking for. Indeed, it was as he expected. As he continued reading, it was all introductions to the ancient era's secret treasures, their uses, which owners used them, and how famous they were. However, there was no way to forge secret treasures. This was what Xiao Chun was concerned about. He shook his head and smiled bitterly. To think that I would look forward to a book used to pad the corner of a table. Never mind. I can only read it when I'm bored. Hey, this is the Scarlet Throne? The Scarlet Throne, a secret treasure refined by the ancient evil king. This secret treasure is a peak superior grade secret treasure. Xiao Chun suddenly saw a scarlet throne drawn on the page. He quickly looked at it seriously. However, after flipping through the book for a night, he discovered that someone had torn out the last chapter introducing the secret treasure. Feeling somewhat depressed, Xiao Chun said, "What's going on? I just got to the main point, and it's already gone." Chapter 3:21. Xiao Chun casually flipped through the pages of the book. Suddenly, a map fell out of the book. Xiao Chun felt it was strange as he picked it up. He discovered that it was a map of the Firely sect branch. Xiao Chun's depressed expression disappeared. He smiled and said, "Unexpectedly, there's a map inside. Let me find where the refining room is." The refining room is the true location of the Firely sect's treasures. After Xiao Chun confirmed his location, he looked around quickly, searching for the refining room. He discovered that the refining room was a kilometer northeast of him. However, that was a straight line distance. According to the directions on the map, he would have to walk another 5 kilometers after making a few turns. Xiao Chun put away the map and placed the book introducing secret treasures into his universe ring. This book was still useful after all. He could keep in case he needed it in the future. After confirming the direction, Xiao Chun punched the wall in front of him. When 15,000 kilograms of force struck it, a human-shaped hole appeared in the thick wall. After walking another 5 kilometers, Xiao Chun no longer had the patience to do so. Furthermore, time waited for no man. If someone got ahead of him in the ancient remnant, he might not be able to obtain anything. Since the distance was only a kilometer, he would use his fist to blast a path out. As Xiao Chun used his fist to open a path, when Yinbin followed behind him. When he saw the large number of iron-armored warriors scattered on the ground, he had an astonished expression. This is clearly not the work of the silver-armored warriors. Instead, it is this person's true strength. Is it right for me to follow him? At this moment, Xiao Chun hesitated for the first time. However, he destroyed so many iron-armored warriors. He must have exhausted some of his strength. I'm not exhausted at all. My aura is still at its peak. If I attack him, I have a high chance of victory. When Yinbin found an excuse in his heart, a murderous intent flashed in his eyes as he continued to follow. Xiao Chun, who was focused on opening a path for himself, did not know that a group of people had already followed him. However, even if he knew, he would not care too much. It would be fine as long as he remained cautious. Behind him, 2 silver-armored warriors completely covered the hole in his back. He only had to worry about the danger in front of him. Boom! When the last wall was broken, Xiao Chun finally arrived at the refining room. When a huge refining room appeared before his eyes, Xiao Chun's gaze immediately turned grave. On the floor of the artifact refining room, there were various artifacts covered in dust, but with a glance, one could tell that most of them were incomplete and not of much use. In the middle of the refining room, there was a huge 3-legged cauldron with dragons and phoenixes carved on it. The legendary Dragon Phoenix Cauldron? On top of the cauldron, there were 3 balls of white flames. They were bone-chilling and floated strangely above the cauldron. They did not emit any light. Were these the legendary lunar flames? However, this was not the reason why Xiao Chun's gaze turned grave. Instead, it was because someone had rushed into the refinery ahead of him. The commotion Xiao Chun had. The other party had noticed him, and he immediately, "Do how?" After Xiao Chun clearly saw the other party's appearance, he exclaimed in astonishment. Didn't he go to chase after Chu Chaoyan? Why is he here? The combat techniques that this person displayed in the fight with the Scarlet Flame Chief left a deep impression on Xiao Chun. Although the other party was only a superior grade martial saint and had not reached the peak, Xiao Chun did not dare to underestimate this person. Compared to some high-profile people, this person's character and martial techniques belonged to the type that would erupt in silence. His strength could not be underestimated. Otherwise, Duamyuking would not have chosen this person to help kill the Scarlet Flame Chief. Du Hao raised his head and looked at Xiao Chun. His calm face revealed a grave expression. He said, "Are you here for the Lunar True Flame and the Dragon Phoenix Cauldron as well? Could it be that the Lunar True Flame and the Dragon Phoenix Cauldron are real?" Based on the words of this person, it seems like he understands them very well. There is no harm in getting some information from him first. Xiao Chun slowly walked forward and smiled softly. Could it be that the Lunar True Flame and the Dragon Phoenix Cauldron are real? Du Hao's heart skipped a beat. He instantly knew that Xiao Chun did not know the origins of the Lunar True Flame. However, there was no harm in telling him. Perhaps he could avoid an unnecessary fight. Naturally, it is impossible for it to be real. The Dragon Phoenix Cauldrons and the Fiery Sex Branch Hall are all fakes. However, they are necessary to refine secret treasures. The Lunar True Flames are only 4 strands that were separated from the lunar origin source. Your purple flame is of the Yang attribute. The Lunar True Flame is an extreme Yin flame. It is useless to you. The Dragon Phoenix Cauldron is a fake. I believe it is useless to you as well. You can have all the secret treasures on the ground. I only want the cauldron and the flame. What do you think? Du Hao suggested softly as he looked at Xiao Chun. Although many of the secret treasures on the ground were damaged, there were so many of them. It would not be difficult to find a few complete secret treasures. In the eyes of a normal person, choosing the secret treasures was more worthwhile. After all, as long as the secret treasures were not badly damaged, they could still be sold for some spirit stones. Xiao Chun smiled faintly. What if I make the same choice as you? When Du Hao heard this, he laughed softly. He said in a sullen voice, I already guessed your choice. In that case, we can only fight. After Du Hao spoke, he pushed off the ground and leaped into the air. He passed through the tall dragon phoenix cauldron and twisted his waist in midair. Then, he kicked out with his right leg. When Du Hao kicked out, a strong wind blew. There was a loud crack in the air. Xiao Chen's expression did not change. He was not afraid. When it came to physical strength, he had never been afraid of anything. Xiao Chun quickly stepped forward with his right foot and circulated the dragon and tiger body, sculpting art. The image of a dragon and tiger surrounded his body. There was a whistling sound as he clenched his right fist and punched the incoming kick. Boom! When a fist and leg collided, there was a loud explosion. A horrifying shockwave swept past the two of them, blowing away all the damaged secret treasures on the ground. Du Hao's body quickly spun around in the air. He did not land on the ground. Instead, he kicked out with an even faster speed, piercing through the air in his way. Interesting. Right now, my ferocious tiger, leaving the mountains, can already achieve close to 40,000 kilograms of force. My opponent's physical strength is, at most, 1 grade higher than Wen Yinbin's. There is still a significant gap between us. Logically speaking, after receiving my punch, you should be knocked down from the sky. However, my opponent seems to have grasped an extremely profound technique to deflect force. Not only did he neutralize my force, but he also used my force when he spun around. Xiao Chun merged his own force together and kicked out even more ferociously. In that case, let's see how long your deflecting techniques can last. Xiao Chun shouted and shifted his feet, moving to the side. Xiao Chun moved in a semicircle and dodged Du Hao's sharp kick. Then, he arrived at Du Hao's side and punched at Du Hao's waist. Du Hao's expression remained calm as he looked at the position where Xiao Chun instantly moved. He quickly withdrew his move and somersaulted in the air. Then, he increased the force of his earlier kick by 10%. Du Hao's right leg was like an upside-down hook as it chopped down at Xiao Chen's head. Xiao Chen's punch missed, causing the air to tremble and form ripples. At this moment, Xiao Chun could no longer dodge. He could only defend. He pulled back his right leg and crossed his arms above his head. Bang! The huge force was like a small mountain pressing down. Xiao Chun did not move at all. However, the stone floor could not withstand this horrifying pressure. The stone floor shattered and pieces of the floor flew into the air, heading for the ceiling of the refining room. Du Hao quickly retracted his leg in midair and somersaulted backwards. Xiao Chun shouted explosively, and all the energy in his body trembled. The surrounding floorboards immediately shattered with a loud rumble. Dragon hisses, tiger roars. A tiger and a dragon flew out from behind Xiao Chun. The tiger's roar and the dragon's roar accompanied each other, raising their auras. The moment Du Hao landed, Xiao Chen's fist had already arrived in front of his face, not giving him any chance to dodge. Hoochie! Du Hao took a step back at lightning speed. Then, he loosened his fingers and pressed them against Xiao Chen's wrist. Xiao Chen's peak punch contained 25,000 kilograms of force. When it flew over, it was like a large truck moving at high speed. Its speed and force were both at their peak. However, when Du Hao's palm strike landed on Xiao Chen's wrist, it easily pushed away this roaring punch. In an instant, the wind from Xiao Chen's fist deviated. This was the move that Du Hao used to deal with the Scarlet Flame Chief. When he used it on Xiao Chun, it was unexpectedly effective. Xiao Chun immediately felt a force pulling him forward. Because the force was too ferocious, he could not stop in time. Du Hao smacked away Xiao Chen's attack with his palm. Then, his body slid gently and nimbly arrived behind Xiao Chun. He looked at Xiao Chun, who could not stop in time. Du Hao clenched his right hand tightly, and a horrifying force burst out from his palm. Then, he punched at Xiao Chen's back without hesitation. If this punch landed, Xiao Chun might end up like the Scarlet Flame Chief. At the critical moment, Xiao Chun remained calm. His thoughts were highly focused, searching for a way to break out of this situation. Xiao Chen's forward charge was too ferocious. Regardless of whether he turned around or moved to the side, it would be problematic. Before he could do anything, he would be struck by the other party's fist. Xiao Chen could not see how strong Du Hao's punch was. However, he was sure that it was no less than 15,000 kilograms of force. Boom! At the critical moment, Xiao Chen punched the ground ferociously. Boom! 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 A horrifying force of 25,000 kilograms of force smashed into the ground. It was like a mountain had landed on the ground. The entire refinery started to shake uncontrollably. The floorboards around Xiao Chen immediately shattered, and countless rocks flew into the air. The rocks happened to block Du Hao's path. Bang! Du Hao easily smashed all the rocks into dust, scattering them in the air. The rocks successfully helped Xiao Chen block for a breath of time. Although the time was short, Xiao Chen, who had already neutralized the force, was sufficient to dodge Du Hao's attack. Windwalk Shoes, Blue Dragon Cloud Soaring Art, Blue Dragon Tail Whip. Xiao Chen instantly activated the Windwalk Shoes and executed the Azure Dragon Cloud Soaring Art. He was like a flood dragon moving gently from his original spot. He moved in a purple arc and appeared 200 meters away in an instant.